across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Very good afternoon to you. Just gone 4 o'clock. Sorry for the gap there. Amy's asleep. I'm only jesting. Thank you to Ian Collins, the Housewives' Choice, back tomorrow between 1 and 4, but we're live and exclusive across the UK on the day. And let's get really excited, ladies and gentlemen. I've been building up to this all day. This is like an old man finally being given the dessert of his choice. It's the spending review. Hurrah! Now, can we talk about something else? Because frankly, is it just me? What does it matter? What does it mean? There's only one person, right? One person who has the intelligence, the clarity and the political nous to explain that to you in layman's terms. But he, I'm afraid, is not available. So Peter Cardwell, I'm dribbling. He's here. How are you, my old son?
Very well. How are you?
Thank you for doing the job so brilliantly while I was away.
Oh, it was great. I really enjoyed it. It was good. Yeah.
Shame the audience didn't. I'm only jesting. We are in a minute going to speak to James Wilde, Shadow Executive Secretary of the Treasury, Conservative MP. There are some left.
Just say Shadow Treasury Minister. It's a lot easier.
All right, I'll do that. That'll be the way to do it. I'm going to ask you to be involved in the show today, but I'm probably of the mindset that most of you will go, yeah, spending review, what a pile of old rubbish. Can we talk about the main points? The government vows, right, Rachel Thieves, Richard III, vows to end asylum hotels, pause, in 4 years.
Yes.
This is costing £7 or £8 billion a year, right? By 2029, unless my maths is completely crap, that's another 40 billion quid. Not one mention in this spending review of how they're going to stop illegal migrants coming to this country in the first place would then mean that we didn't have to pay this damn money out.
And they've cut the budget of the Home Office. So they've cut the budget of the Home Office by 2.2 percentage points. They're saying that there'll be a bit less money for the police, but there'll be more money for asylum. What they want to do is
less money for the police.
Well, I think
so with crime everywhere.
I think that's the likely outcome of all of this. If the Home Office budget is shrunk, well, then there'll be certain things that it can't do. And what we're in a position for, what Rachel Reeves is in a position to do now is to say, right, what we're going to do is we're going to get those people out of those hotels. How do you do that? Huge processing backlog. She's saying more money for people who can process those asylum seekers. But the problem is about 3 in 4 of the people who say they're asylum seekers, the government judges to be here legitimately. So 3 in 4 of those people will have to go and find homes elsewhere. We don't have enough houses. Well, the budget of the housing department, that's been given some extra money allocated in a different way. And we're in a position where the government are saying 1.5 million homes by the end of this parliament, but they're behind on that already and the waiting lists are very, very long. So even though they're sort of moving money around today, no new money, and a lot of people saying, hold on a second, if you want to do all this, where's the money going to come from?
Going to raise taxes.
They're going to raise taxes.
They're going to raise taxes.
They've not done it today, but they'll do it in the budget.
So she promised an £11 billion boost for the Ministry of Defence. She confirmed 600 million will be pumped into the UK's intelligence services, calling it an essential aid in the age of insecurity. So more money for the NHS, more money for the defence, more money to dealing with asylum hotels, but not the answer. Harry Cole was here yesterday. I'll talk to you about Simon Casey in just a sec. Harry Cole made, I thought, a really salient point, which is the passport office. He's got a new job in America. He'd gone down to the passport office. He said, Jez, if you'd gone there 3 years ago, you'd have been there for about 3 years to get it done. It took him 90 minutes. The whole thing has been completely completely...
The passport office is a bit of government that actually works.
So why the hell can't you do that, Peter Cardwell, and create a processing system, be it here or in embassies, wherever it is? Why are we incapable in 2025 of saying, do you know what, right? Here it is. This is the criteria. You're in or you're out, and if you're out, you ain't coming in. You're going to be deported, sent back to your country, and we are going to save ourselves as a country that dosh.
Well, is this in the bones of Labour? That's what I want to know. Do they really want to do this? Do they really want to say to a load of people, you'll go home because you're not allowed to be here?
But they're going to lose the election if they don't.
Well, they've said they've sent home about 24,000 people. The fact is that most of those, the vast majority of those, about 4 in 5, are actually voluntary repatriations. People saying, do you know what, I overstayed my visa, fair cop, I'll go home. In terms of saying to people, you don't want to go, but we're forcibly removing you, you're talking about a few thousand people there.
Let's go live to Westminster, to the Green. We've got James Wilde, who's the... Just give him his proper title.
The Shadow Exchequer Treasury Secretary. Shadow Exchequer Secretary.
You've absolutely messed the bits off
Let's just call him the Shadow Treasury Minister.
James Wilde, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Good afternoon, I'm very well.
James, I suspect that the Tory party watched events unfold today with a degree of cynicism. The Labour Party would say they're in this position because you lot got it so badly wrong. What would you say to that?
Well, hang on a second. They inherited the fastest growing economy in the G7 after some very tough times. But what the Chancellor decided to do in the autumn was to whack up taxes by £40 billion a year, to massively increase borrowing and to increase spending. That's what we've seen today. But she hasn't learnt her lesson. She had to come back in March to, with welfare cuts to make her numbers add up. But the reality is that she's probably going to fold on those as well. And so in the autumn, it's pretty likely she's going to be coming back for more taxes. Bad news for your viewers, bad news for businesses.
In terms of this government, when it came to power, Pete, I'll include you in this as well. They talked about growth, 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 and we all know made it impossible for small and medium-sized businesses to be successful, raising the NI rates and all those sorts of things. But for most people in this country, James, and, you know, I speak to a lot of Tory MPs, and there has to be a degree, I think, of honesty amongst you that the British public had stopped listening to you. Yes, economically we're in a far better position, but the British people voted you out of power because you didn't do the things that you said you were going to do. That is a fact. Now, let's talk about the number one point. Whatever anybody tells you, the number one issue in this country right now is immigration. And I find it almost... It makes me incandescent with rage. I'd love your take on this. Why has no politician... You're going to say Rwanda to me. You didn't do it quick enough or soon enough, nobody left. Your Prime Minister lost his bottle. But my point is this. Why is there no politician from whatever side who seemingly has the intelligence to say we are going to create a system that processes people, deals with the backlog and makes Britain less soft so that all these people who are not escaping war-torn countries, because you don't leave your wife and kid if you're escaping a war, you stay in France, but they only give you a tent. We're too soft. We're too welcoming and people are taking advantage. And it is beyond me, James Wilde, to think that no party can get this sorted. I don't understand it, my friend.
Well, you're right, it is a massive issue, source of big concern for people. You were talking earlier in your comments about this ludicrous pledge to end the use of hotels by the end of the Parliament. That's far too long. You mentioned Rwanda. Look, we need to have a deterrent. People should be detained when they're here and then deported if they don't have a right to be here, and that needs to happen a lot more quickly. Kemi Badenoch gave a speech last week talking about unpicking some of the legal treaty issues, not just the ECHR, but the Refugee Convention and other things. And if they don't work so that we can deport people who we don't want to have in our country, then we're prepared to leave them. So you're right, we didn't get that right and didn't do enough, and that's why we lost in part.
Are you saying that your leader, James? Are you saying that your leader, because this is what my viewers, my listeners, and all the people that I know would agree with? Why doesn't the Tory party have the gumption to stand up and say we're leaving the ECHR? Because it is patently obvious that this country, led by a left-wing human rights lawyer, and most of his muckers are employing people to put up with the most ridiculous excuses to allow people to stay here. And I genuinely, Pete, what do you think? People have had enough, haven't they? Completely. James?
Yeah, I agree, and that's why we've set up this process to go through these legal treaties, and if we can't work out that they can meet the deportation test, that's the first one we did. The fairness test is also about being able to prioritise British people over people who've come into our country. There's a series of common sense things. You're absolutely right, it drives people mad, and we just need to get away so that we've got a common sense and worked out plan to do this. The intent is there, if we have to leave these things, because it's gone on too long and we need to stop this problem in its tracks.
Pete?
James, it's Peter Cardwell here. You're being pretty cautious on the ECHR. I know you're going through the process and many people say that's a good thing. Make sure you're right and get things right. But the Conservatives in many polls are pretty rock bottom at the moment, 16% in one recent poll. Why don't you just be a bit braver, a bit more bold and just say, actually, we've got a radical plan. It's very different from Labour. At the moment, I just don't sense an awful lot of opposition coming from you guys, except perhaps from Robert Jenrick.
Well, Robert Jenrick's part of the team. He's leading a lot of this work with Kemi to set out a very clear position on deportation and dealing with these illegal crossings. So we are serious about this. We're not going to have to wait long for the answer. Kemi, there are some issues around the Good Friday Agreement, which mentions ECHR. If you were to unpick that, what does that mean legally? But fundamentally, where international treaties don't work for us, we're not going to be part of them anymore. That's our clear position. We'll come forward with fully developed plans, but that's certainly the direction of travel. We need to end this problem.
Can I be really honest, James? Can I be really honest? And it's great to have you on. And you probably think, God, he's in your face. I'm just gonna say this because it's something that I feel really strongly about personally, and I know that the viewers and the listeners and people I speak to up and down this country feel exactly the same. The Tory party lost the ear of the British people. I was a traditional Tory voter all my life, and I was so hacked off with what I saw as a degradation of your job that I voted Reform. I've been very honest about that, right? I have concerns with all the political parties right now. But if one more Tory, right, tells me and people like me who are cynical about your party right now that we're still in the process of reviewing where we went wrong, Peter Cardwell is dead right. And I know it's difficult for you. Your leader needs to be front and centre, suggesting, promoting and talking about the ways that the things that matter to people can be made better under the Tories. Jenrick is the only goddamn person that you listen to, that we hear. I haven't heard from Kemi Badenoch, and it must be frustrating for you lot because you can review Pete all you want, but we want meat on the bone, right? James?
Yeah. Well, she gave you a big speech last Friday, specifically on the ECHR, setting out these tests for international treaties. Number one was a deportation test, and if we can't deport the people we want to, then we won't be part of any treaties that prevent us from doing that. So that's a very clear signal. We've now got the lawyers to work through that, but it won't be long. We'll be coming forward with our position. And as you say, Rob's doing a great job in championing and making the case. That's what he's in the shadow cabinet to do, and that's why he's backing Kemi and getting on with it. But I appreciate your frustration, your viewers' frustration. They've heard it all before. But let's just say we get it. We get the need to do more on this issue.
James, it was very interesting today that both Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves talked about the parties opposite, not just the party opposite, but the parties opposite, clearly thinking about reform. They see reform as their number one rival. Who do you see as your number one rival? Is it Labour or is it Reform UK?
Well, look, we're up against all of the parties. We're in a multi-party system now.
Who's your number one rival?
Depends on where you are. It depends where you are in the country. But the Labour are currently the opposition, the government, and we're the opposition to them. So we've got to take the fight to them. Also, we need to point out Reform. Look, we've just had a massive spending splurge by Rachel Reeves. Reform want to nationalise the water industry. They want to nationalise British Steel. They want to increase the benefits budget. We've already got a huge welfare budget, and they want to spend more on that. So they're quite left-wing on some economic issues, and we need to take the arguments against them and try and win back the people who are conservative, who are right of centre, who voted for Reform at frustration at us. But actually, Reform are offering lots of easy answers and aren't necessarily on the right on a number of the issues.
It's really interesting. I'll sum it up with this, and I know that you as a politician know, Steve just said, we don't want or need yet another process. We want MPs and parties to understand the illegals need to be sent back. Work it out. James Wild, thank you very much indeed. Shadow Executive Secretary to the Treasury. Difficult. Listen, he's a Tory. He's in the shadow cabinet under Kemi Badenoch. I've been totally open about the Badenoch thing. I don't think she's vocal enough. I don't think she's cutting the mustard. You've got 121 Tory MPs against 5 MPs from Reform who are far more vocal. And Reform have got their problems and had their problems, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, it is beyond me, Pete, and you do this for a living. I mean, let's talk about Harry's interview yesterday with Sir Simon Case. It's in The Sun today. Brilliant article. Simon Case said this country is teetering in debt, disorder at home, facing annihilation abroad, and it doesn't matter who the government is, they are being stifled by the blob and levels of bureaucracy. And I'm listening to this yesterday and I'm thinking, and you were in charge of it. How have we got to a point in this country, Pete, in 2025, where a bunch of, I don't know, working from home civil servants, not an elected government, seem to be calling the shots? It's wrong.
Well, the irony is that you have Sir Simon Case there, previously the Cabinet Secretary, previously the head of the Civil Service, essentially saying that even he, from that pinnacle, even he under Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak, couldn't manage to change that.
Yeah.
And if you have the person at the top saying that, and being very honest now, and more honest than, of course, he could have been when he was in his previous role, well, where are we? And the thing I hear, I'm sure you hear it as well, a lot of our viewers and listeners talk about the uni party, this idea that no matter who you vote for, you're always going to get the same thing. And then someone comes along in the face of Nigel Farage and says, we're going to change all that. Well, the question I would ask is, first of all, if Nigel Farage wins and becomes Prime Minister, I wish him good luck. I hope he does well, and I hope he does change things in this country, because things do need to be changed, although I'm not necessarily a supporter of any political party. The point is, if Simon Case, who was on the inside for years and years and years, can't change it, why can Nigel Farage or anybody else?
But that, to me, is where I do sound like a cantankerous old sod.
No.
That's not acceptable. This is the United Kingdom.
Of course.
I don't understand how we've got to a point where, do you know what, we can't sort out immigration. The government haven't got any control. I don't think that's acceptable. Something has to drastically change. Just very quickly, in terms of this spending review as an overview from the political nerd of all nerds, she says, Richard III, Rachel Thieve, she wants to renew Great Britain, be it through the NHS or the police, maybe, the defence systems, immigration. It's going to cost. The only conceivable way, surely, is by taxation. And yet the one thing I'll take from what James Wilde says is we were far better off as a country in terms of where we were in terms of growth and productivity at the end of the Tory debacle. We have gone backwards. They came into power and talked about this £11 billion black hole, but then gave 11 billion quid's worth of money to their union mates. She's messed the economy up. Do you, like me, think she's out of her depth, genuinely?
Yes, I do, and I think she'll probably be replaced. The problem is that if you replace a Chancellor, people look at the person who appointed that Chancellor.
Matthew Tobin told me yesterday they'll both be gone within a year.
I don't think that's true. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. What I do think, I mean, James Wilde is factually correct, as the Tories are when they say fastest growing economy in the G7. The G7 are not a bunch of really big growth companies, so it's sort of like saying, you know, you're the sort of tallest member of Snow White Housemates. The interesting
thing... You're talking about the dwarfs. You can't call them that now.
I didn't call them... I didn't use the D word. You did.
Can you not say dwarf?
I don't know, can you? What are you allowed to say and not say?
You're not allowed to say that in Hollywood. You've got to say vertically challenged smaller person.
I didn't say anything. I haven't said the D word. I haven't said it at all.
Just say it. Go on, say it.
Dwarf.
Good man. Well done. So we're both.
You know there are only 3 words in the English language that start with DW.
Dwarf.
Yep.
Dwayne.
Dwayne's a name.
A dwonky?
No, it's wonky.
It's a wonky donkey. It's a dwonky.
Okay, no, seriously. There are only three words. Dwarf.
Yes.
Can you think of any others?
What's on your mind? No, I've no idea what.
Dwindle.
Oh, dwindle.
Dwindle.
Oh, hold on. My son, who's here, he should be at school.
Hold on.
What's the other one? Have you got an H? What is it? Shout it through to me.
He's probably Googled that.
Is it? What is it? He's Googling it now.
Yeah, well, no, dwindle, dwarf, and you would do well to know the next one.
Oh! Dwell. Very good.
There we are.
Back to the story.
Yes.
It is going to be taxation. It is going to be, and seemingly, and then we've just got some breaking news, which I'd love your response to, and your face is just going to... The UK has just agreed, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, honestly, to a fluid border between Gibraltar and Spain, which will not require checks on people crossing. The government's just announced they are clearing the way to finalise a post-Brexit deal with the EU. Can you explain to me a government that is fiscally in the toilet, right, that talks repeatedly about growth, that doesn't seem to understand how to defend its own country, seems absolutely fine with giving away British territory? We've given away the Chagos Islands. What does this mean for Gibraltar?
So some people in Gibraltar will be happy about this because it means, well, businessmen, for example, who want to
Not the monkeys
travel.
on the rock.
No.
Do you know they pleasured themselves most of the day? I'm not even joking. That's what monkeys on the rock in Gibraltar do. Pleasuring themselves. Let's have this out.
As it were. Kevin O'Sullivan once told me about this. He said it was the most popular video ever posted on YouTube from
Who?
Kevin O'Sullivan told me about
Sorry,
the
Kevin O'Sullivan. This is something else. I thought, so Kevin O'Sullivan... Yes, it's true.
Yes,
Monkeys on the rock in Gibraltar pleasure themselves.
OK, well, that's really interesting, but the point is that people who are coming from Spain to Gibraltar won't have to show their passports, but you, if you go to Gibraltar, you'll have to show your passport.
Why are we bending down when we left the EU? Why are we giving away land? Why are we kowtowing to everybody? Why are we making the United Kingdom such a soft haven for people to come here? And all of this. And
Keir Starmer thinks this deal is in British interests.
No, this is him and his left-wing human rights lawyer mates making pacts, isn't it?
Looks like that to me.
You're smiling.
No, I'm not. I'm smiling because I just think a lot of this is just so inevitable. There's so many people who said free speech. Keir Starmer becomes Prime Minister. Free speech is going to be under threat. Our borders won't be as secure as they were, even though they weren't nearly as secure as they needed to be. And just a lot of this was predicted. And I just think that taxes are going to go up even more. We heard, you know, so much of what we heard from Labour. We were told the budget a few months ago, this is a once in a parliament budget, this is the way things are going to be, you know, everything will get easier from now. No, it's getting harder. And there's so many people, not just people on the edge, people who have good wages who are saying, can't afford a second kid, might think, you know, I'm in my 20s, I'm not, but I'm in my 20s thinking maybe moving to Dubai or something. You know, there are lots of people who are really, there are a lot of millionaires who are leaving this country every 45 minutes. You know, there are real problems here. What?
It's just going.
You're leaving, are you?
Yeah. Can I just say though, mate, honestly, thank you, because you do, and I know we take the mickey and we laugh with each other, but you put it so well, and it is. We did say it, and you look at it, and it's almost this sort of. This is not good, is it?
No, it's not.
It isn't good, and
well, you can understand people's frustrations, and it's not just people who are usually frustrated. There are a load of people out there who have no real interest in politics. Most of our viewers and listeners have more than the average interest in politics, but there are a load of it's everybody you talk to, and they just say life is not as easy as it used to be. It's harder now. Things are more expensive. Prices are going up. Even those little luxuries, going to the cinema, going out for a meal at, you know, somewhere like Pizza Express that I love doing, that's more expensive now. Why is that?
Why do you like going to Pizza Express?
I love Pizza Express.
Why?
Why? Because
is
it's
it the
great.
Pizza Express dressing?
It's a cheap thrill. It's all Pizza Express.
Anyway, Pete's got to go now. He's off to Gibraltar to watch the monkeys.
Should say, by the way, that
I beg your pardon.
Other pizza restaurants are available. They're just not as good.
Oh! Peter Carr, we're sponsored by Peter Express. When are you back?
Peter Express.
Pizza Express.
I'm doing Drive tomorrow and Friday.
Are you? And what about Saturday?
On Saturday, on Sunday, on Monday. I'm identifying as Julia on Monday.
Are you?
Yes.
There's the thoughts. Just wearing that. Never mind. Listen, thank you, and I genuinely mean thank you, because I think the way that we all see it, and just, you know, Gibraltar. I mean, we've now given away the Gibraltar. I mean, not giving it away, but giving away the British people's rights.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. What do you make of all of this? What a mess. What a mess. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. Asylum hotels are going to end in 4 years. We've given away Gibraltar. We're going to give more money to defence. And at the end of the day, here it is. We're going to pay more in taxes. Ladies and gentlemen, I can officially, absolutely reveal at 4:23 on the, is it the 11th of June?
It is.
We're screwed. Back in 3.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
4:26, we're live across the United Kingdom. Hello to Mark, who says, I'm delighted how Labour are running our country. Because of Labour, I lost 2 stone as I can't afford my weekly bloody food shop. Barbara's in London. Barbara, Jez. First half of Gibraltar's coffin is already nailed down. Next stop, Argentina to hand over the border controls to the Falklands. Couldn't agree more. Lewis Holdstock, too many takers in politics today. Couldn't agree more, me old son. Andrew, listening to the Tory MP, when will they realise we don't vote reform as a protest? The Tories lost our ear and trust. It will take them decades, if ever, to get it back. Keith's in Shrewsbury, or is it Shrewsbury? I'll let you decide that for yourself. Jez, great show. He's lying. When a boat lands on the beach, there are about 100 maximum people in it. Surely just bus them to a processing centre there and then have a plane on standby to get the hell out of this country if they're illegals. That would be the ultimate deterrent, because anyone coming over would know they're going to be straight back to where they came from, and they're not going to be, yes. Lynn's in Portsmouth. Jez, has Rachel Thieves not just given immigrants a 4-year pylon? They'll be coming in their droves now. I'm going to spend my savings as hard-working taxpayers in the next budget. And finally, Brad, the Labour policy for reducing the number of immigrants in hotels is to simply lower the bar even more, so they're not even considered illegal. Couldn't agree more. People are absolutely outraged. Steve in East Yorkshire as well. We'll read that in a tick. But, ladies and gentlemen, occasionally, well, we try once a week to have this show some quality, and we are deigned with the presence of His Lord God Almighty. Michael Gra is in the building.
To you.
How are you, son?
I'm very well indeed. What a joke this government is, right? They say, oh, by the end of the Parliament, there won't be any more migrant hotels. You know why? Because they'll all be in houses. They'll be moving them all into houses because that's what they're going to be doing.
This is you and I have this moment every single week,
Yeah.
right? I mean, so she stands up today, Richard III, right, which is catching on.
It is.
And she says that I vow to end the costly cost of asylum seekers. By 2029, this will be gone.
Yeah.
But it's costing $8 billion a year, so
Yes.
for another 4 years, that's 40 billion,
Yes.
or 32 or 40
Right.
billion. Nothing about how we're going to stop
No.
the illegal people who are in hotels
No.
coming here in the first
And
place.
also,
But as
where
you
are
say,
they all- and where are they all
social
go-
housing.
And
That-
where are they all going to go?
in houses that we build.
Yes, and the social housing that we build, already we know in London, we're paying $3.6 billion a year to subsidise people who were not born in this country. And I accept that some people come to this country to work from other countries,
Yes.
that's fine, but not in the numbers that they're doing currently.
No.
So more than 50% of the population living in social housing in London are, in fact, being paid for and subsidised by us, and they're from foreign countries.
I'm
What's
going
going on?
to tell you a story, because you never met him, but I wish you had. One of the last things the old man ever said to me, he says, you watch, I wouldn't want to be here in the next 50 years. He said that to me.
Yeah.
He said, this country is on its arse.
It is.
And I genuinely, for people who go, oh, you've gone about it every single day, you
Yeah.
and Mike, well, it's true.
Yeah, but it's
this
true.
country is,
I had a plumber,
I
right?
think, destroying
Yeah.
the belief of its own people
It
on
is.
a daily basis.
Well, because the government is literally undermining us.
Yeah.
The government are putting people who are from other countries in front of us in
Yep,
the queue
absolutely.
for housing, in the queue for the NHS, in the queue for all sorts of benefits that we can't get.
And in the old days,
Yeah.
if we'd said that, we'd have been called racist. And
Yeah.
what really inflames my anger more than anything is when politicians say, well, that's far right. No, it's not.
No, it isn't.
Millions of people think, and quite rightly so, I've paid my stamp, I've lived within the rules,
Yeah.
I've never asked for a handout, I'm 8th in the queue.
Yeah,
It's not right.
Absolutely right. And I mean, Rachel Reeves said this today on a tweet: "We are investing in your security, health, and economy, so you and your family are better off."
At what cost?
Really?
At what cost?
No, but hang
Who's
on,
going to
but-
pay
but
for it?
Nobody's better off. Nobody
No,
is better
we're
off.
all worse off.
I had a plumber today that rang in. He said, I've just looked at my receipts for the last year since Labour have been in, and he said they're down by 33% on the year before, because he said people are not hiring us. People, I've got mates who are plasterers, people in the building trade, people are not getting extensions done. I spoke to a guy this morning, and he got an estimate for the extension he wanted to put on his house, which he says he now can't afford. It's too expensive because everything's gone up in price. He can't move house because the stamp duty on the move of the house is now prohibitive. You know, you're talking upwards of 50,000 quid.
Yeah.
And people will say, oh, that's because the house is worth a lot of money. Yeah, well, because in London, that's what the house prices are. And so you can't move, you can't put an extension on, you can't get as much business. How are we better off?
And for a government that came to power saying it's all about growth, we're going to do that, and you know, you destroyed small and medium businesses,
Yeah.
as I said already. You've made it virtually impossible for a business to succeed with workers' rights.
Yeah.
To me, you know, she stands up today and she says, you know, we're going to spend more money on defence and. But not on police.
Yeah.
We're going to cut the Home Office, but we're going to spend more money on, what was it, 600 million pumped into the UK's intelligence services. All of this renewing Britain that she talks about will come at the cost of tax rises.
Yeah.
And listen, do you believe that the Tories, and nobody was listening to the Tories in an absolute debacle, did they leave this country in the financial mess that we're led to believe they did?
They did not.
I don't believe they did. I don't believe they did a good job.
No, they didn't do a good job, and they were useless in the end, and they had to go. No question about that. There's no point in defending it. Even the Tories don't defend it.
No.
They know they got it massively wrong, particularly back at the last sort of 2 or 3 years. But what they didn't do is leave the economy in the mess that it's in now. The economy has failed and got much, much worse since the Labour Party got in. Since the budget last year, 250,000 people have lost their jobs, right? And that's going to continue. So potentially by the end of this year, 500,000 people will be out of work who were not out of work under the Tories. I spoke as well, when you talk about the military expenditure.
This was amazing. Is this on catch-up, by the way? Please
you can get it.
this.
Yeah, the whole interview is actually on YouTube as well.
Seriously.
Brigadier Ed Butler, former commander of the SAS in Afghanistan, right? A proper man, a guy who knows things that he'll never tell anyone, right? Because I said to him, well, I said to you yesterday when I was talking to you, you know, your job basically is to go and kill people. And he said it's not quite like that. He said, but when the guns start firing, if you don't kill them, they're going to kill you.
Yeah.
Right? And he says it's just a disgrace that this government and any government should ever go back into the histories of these men.
Absolutely.
20 years ago, what were they doing there? Did they go rogue? He said it's an absolute disgrace. When you sign up to fight for your country, you should be protected.
And think about that, Ed Butler this morning, talking about fighting for your country, putting yourself front and centre to protect. They're being screwed, veterans, they're homeless, but we're putting migrants in hotels.
We're putting migrants in front of those people, right?
Oh my God,
you can't get benefits if you're a veteran that these people can get. You know, it's absolutely disgraceful. And he also said, in terms of, you know, being ready for war, he says absolutely ridiculous. It's rubbish, you know, because these people have been winding down the armed forces for years and years and years. And I said to him, you know, only 4 years ago, some people in the military were talking about fighting drones and using robots and not needing any men anymore, or women. And he said that's absolutely rubbish. He said what they need to do is build up the forces, give the people better pay, recruit more people who want to fight for their country, and fix it.
I think it's frightening. I think we've got is it James Murray? We've got James Murray, who's Executive Secretary to the Treasury, the other half of James Wilden, if elected in government. Going to put it to him. The other thing is, as if today isn't bad enough, breaking news in the last after this sends me through the roof. The UK has finally, or just agreed, a fluid border between Gibraltar and Spain, which will not require checks on people crossing. Not for the British, it will. The government says this clears the way to finalise a post-Brexit deal with the EU. Am I the only person apart from you in the world who said we voted to leave? We've now got a government that is sidling us up to Europe again.
And Gibraltar is British. It's not part of Spain,
but we're giving away the Chagos Islands. We're giving away Gibraltar. What next? The Malvinas?
How about that story this morning, though? That Keir Starmer has finally given somebody a tax break. It's the people in Mauritius, believe it or not, who have been told, thanks to the deal that we gave them, £30 billion, right? 81% of working people in Mauritius are going to pay no income tax at all. So basically, Rachel Reeves, as somebody said, I think in Parliament today, the only tax break she's given to anyone is to the people in Mauritius, not to the people of this country.
Do they think, in your mind, does this Labour Party not care, or is it so stupid that it cannot see what is happening? Because this country,
they're on a mission. I think
on a mission to destroy the United Kingdom.
On a mission to completely redesign Britain. Yes.
But they're ruining Britain.
They're ruining it because most sensible people, and where the home of common sense lives, are commonsensical people.
And do you know how many people now use your phrase? And it was your phrase, by the way. Can I just nail this for anybody? It was Mike's phrase. How many? Donald Trump used it in his inauguration. That Tory MP just said we need common sense. We haven't heard anything from you, mate.
When we started out and we called this the home of common sense, they suddenly set up a committee in the House of Parliament, which was a common sense committee, bizarrely, with some quite commonsensical people on it. But no, I mean, the thing is, I think they're so ideologically bent, this government, and I say that as they're left-wing, they're completely and utterly filled with this zest and zeal for stopping anybody who makes any money, for killing anything that's not the public sector. They talk about investment. It's not investment, it's taxpayers' money. It's all our money that they're giving away. They're building houses with our money and then not giving them to us.
Unbelievable.
I mean, it's incredible, isn't it?
I actually think that the Gibraltar thing is a disgrace.
It is.
And there will be people on the left, of course, who will say, well, it's typical, that's British colonialism, it's not our country. Well, it is our country, actually. And yet there again, old Lammy, interesting, he's gone over there. They will be able, the Spanish people, to go into Gibraltar. We will have to show our passports. Now, it's almost like you're trading everything that is important. You know, some people would say Gibraltar's not important, but it's just another thing to chip away at. Yeah.
The people who live in Gibraltar consider themselves to be British.
Absolutely.
They're not Spanish. They're
No.
like the people in the Falkland Islands. They're not Argentinians. They're British people.
Have you ever been to Gibraltar?
I have only crossed over the border.
So you've never seen monkeys pleasuring themselves
I
on
have
the
not,
rock?
but Kevin O'Sullivan tells a very good story about
Why
that.
is Kevin O'Sullivan front and centre to monkeys
Because
pleasuring themselves in
it
Gibraltar?
was a colleague of ours who actually had it happen to him. He went up the Rock of Gibraltar with a couple of his mates.
Right.
And the deed that you describe happened to him, and he got it all over his shoes. I'm not joking.
Can I use the word? I didn't know. So a colleague of yours walked past a
Fleet
monkey
Street, yeah, there was a
pleasuring
story.
itself.
Yeah, there was a story.
This is brilliant.
There was a story somewhere down there, because there often used to be the Costa del
great.
Crime, right? You
Yeah.
go down to the south of Spain, and you'd be in Malaga, Marbella.
Ian Collins lived there apparently for 3 years. Who didn't know he was a drug dealer?
Well, on his own,
Presumably.
presumably. Porto Banús, you know,
Yes.
Sinatra's bar, all of that. And then he had to go to Gibraltar for some reason. And there was always lots of stuff going on. I wasn't there, but three of my colleagues went up. They had a spare day, decided to go up the Rock of Gibraltar, check it all out, and posing for a picture. Suddenly, this monkey appeared out of nowhere, and then you know the event.
This is
happened.
Jez on Drive. See, don't worry about it, Jez. There's Jez everywhere.
There you
Yeah,
go.
brilliant.
And so yeah, he had to get rid of his shoes and buy a new pair.
Well, listen, honestly, I know we say it almost every week, but you do look at what's happening, and you just think, and then I woke up this morning to the headline in the Sun that the Red Arrows are running out of aircraft.
Now we've got enough planes to make the Diamond 9. I mean, they've only got 6.
One of the most iconic things about Britain. And what are we going to get? 3 bloody Red Arrows planes because we can't afford it.
Yeah, but don't worry, we can give 500,000 people more free school dinners or something ridiculous. I mean, you know, 500,000.
Ryan's in my ears, frightening. His hands hovering since I said Jez.
Yeah.
And he's saying, how long are we going to be on this? On this? Well, as long
Tell
as
him
we
I'll
want.
move it on. We'll move on.
Right, Mike's going to... What do you want to move it on to?
Yeah, I don't know. What can we talk about other than the terrible state of this place? I mean, but when you saw Starmer sitting behind Rachel Reeves today, he looked grim. He looked really grim. He's finally, I think, worked out that nobody likes him. Nobody trusts the word he says.
No.
And
I think it's interesting about him and her, though, by the way. I know a lot of people say that if you lose your chancellor, you follow very
people
quickly.
People are changing their view on that. They're coming around to my way of thinking.
I think they're both Matthew Torbett, Peter Cobble won't have it. I believe he's right. I think within a year they'll both be gone.
I agree.
I genuinely
I think she goes first, and then chip away, and he'll be gone as well. And I don't even know who you end up with. I mean, it could be Angela Rayner, but I can't really believe that would happen.
Ange.
Ange. I mean, it'd be quite funny, wouldn't it?
Oh, how good would Ange be? I'm off to Rock of Gibraltar to watch monkeys. Great.
I went to Ibiza for the weekend for a bit of a rave. The thing is, you know, they just don't get it, do they?
No, they don't.
I mean, the other thing that was worrying me today, and we talked about a lot, was driverless cars. Because apparently the new Transport Secretary wants to introduce them
Well, I did this
to
yesterday.
Britain's cities. Yeah.
Would you get in a driverless car?
No, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't get in one. It would terrify me.
I would not. I mean, also, the way that things are going with tech and with the way that, you know, your phone suddenly blows up for no reason, why are you going to have a car that you can't actually control driving you around? It'd be crazy, wouldn't it?
I don't. I mean, I know we've sat here on this station and said these train drivers who want 80,000 a year, driverless trains, but that frightens me.
Well, driverless trains are on rails. That's different, right?
But even
the car
still,
isn't.
How does a driverless car react to sort of Jodie on the road or
Well,
something?
they don't know, you see, because one of the things that they have a great dilemma about is that they've done these tests where they put a granny over here and a child over there and a dog sort of over there, and it has to hit something, and they don't know which one to hit because they can't make any moral choice because they don't have any.
Sorry, a driverless car's got a moral choice: hit a child, a granny, or a dog. It's obvious who to hit, isn't it?
Well, the granny.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Who's had a good life? Come on.
No, that's a terrible thing.
No,
to say.
we love grannies.
But the point is, the car won't be able to make that choice.
Outrageous, man. Honestly, on the one hand you've got that, and then on the other hand this inability. We've sat here for years. Just to sum it up. It's not getting any better, is it? And we're not
really
being cynical.
No, I mean, actually, I'm quite concerned about where the economy is going to end up because you can't keep borrowing this level of money. They're now paying, I think, every pound in 12 now is being spent on just repaying the debt. And they're having to borrow more money to repay the debt.
I'm all right. You know, if this country cannot afford even its interest on its payments, I'm all right with pulling back the horns and living by your means. But we don't. We are spending money on things and people that we don't need to the detriment of the British people.
I mean, how can you sit here and say we're in a terrible financial state, but you're still paying out billions and billions of pounds every single month for these migrants? It just doesn't make any sense.
Love you, mate. Looking for a great bit, by the way. Catch that online. Ed Butler, isn't it? The ex-SAS commander. under an amazing interview with Mike. He's back tomorrow morning. Thank you very much. Are you going home now?
No, I've got to do a podcast with O'Sullivan, and then there may be a couple of drinks.
He's going to come in at 10 to 7 and tell me all about those monkeys.
Couple of drinks, yeah, asking me about the story.
Couple of drinks?
Couple of drinks after the podcast.
We're going for dinner on Tuesday.
We are.
Yes, we're going to put the world to rights.
We will, certainly.
The legend that is Mike Graham, back tomorrow morning. This is Talk Drive 22.5.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
10 minutes to 5, yeah, the main man back tomorrow. Thank you to him. So Lamy has agreed a deal which gives control of Gibraltar's border to Spain or the EU. This means anyone entering Gibraltar via the port or airport will have to show their passport to Spanish or EU border guards stationed in Gibraltar, i.e. on sovereign British territory. This arrangement could give the Spanish or EU border guards any final say over who is allowed to enter Gibraltar, even if they have passed through Gibraltarian border guards. So, the first step to handing Gibraltar to Spain, and another bloody Starmer surrender. I wonder how much money we'll be giving, says Steve in East Yorkshire. Jill's in Barnsley. Jez, brilliant show. Oh my God, unbelievable. First the Chagos Islands, now Gibraltar. What are this useless shower of numpties going to do next? They must hate the UK with a passion. Keith is in Durham. What a lovely part of the world. I cannot believe that the UK has agreed a fluid border between Gibraltar and Spain. I now despair for the Brits and the Falklands, as they must surely be next on Lammy's hit list. Graham's in Bushy. Are we soon to hand over Gibraltar to Spain and pay them $30 billion for the privilege this country is on its backside? Margaret's in Birmingham. Another giveaway by Lammy. The Falklands will be next, that's guaranteed. Starmer was fidgeting through her speech. What a disgrace. Becca, who needs Rwanda when you have Gibraltar? Falklands next, and they can hand that to the Argentinians. A brilliant announcement from Reeves. New housing, transport and defence spending. At last, some real commitment. I think that might be sarcastic. Sam says everything Rishi Sunak said about Labour leading up to the election was right. People who still voted for Labour are as much to blame as the government as they put these muppets in power. And so Sunak, by the way, Sam, for failing to do entirely what he said he was going to do, and Johnson before him, because that's the reason this bunch of muppets are in power. Jez, is there another country similar to ours that acts in this manner of others first? No. John from Southend. With this Gibraltar deal, all the boat migrants now have another way into British territory via the EU shenanigan zone. Absolute flipping disgrace. To the phone lines, we'll head to London. Couple of minutes only. Nick, you're on Talk Drive. Good evening.
Yes, hello, sir. Why is Starmer done this, Gibraltar and Spain? I mean, why did aid us, advance our interests? I can't think of a single good reason for doing this. So trying to. Why outsource the border control? Why can Spaniards cross into Gibraltar without showing a passport, but you can't the other way? How on earth does that advance our interests?
I'm with you. Our interests, it would seem to me, and we've got James Murray. James Murray is the Executive Secretary to the Treasury in a minute, and I'm going to put all of this to him. How does that extend our interests? We seem to be in a position, whether it's the Chagos Islands, whether it's Gibraltar, the next will be the Falklands, where, and this is what I don't think Labour understand, quite how frustrated the British people are that seemingly our interests, economically, morally, in terms of foreign affairs, it just doesn't seem to matter. We're at the back of the queue the whole time.
Agreed, and our Chagos Islands are even worse. At a time when we say we're scraping and scrimping, we haven't got money for this, we haven't got resources for that, we're cutting the budgets here, there and everywhere. At that time, we're playing Mauritius 30 billion quid for something that they don't want. I mean, it just beggars belief.
Nick, keep listening. I'm going straight, thank you, to the Green in Westminster. We say a very good afternoon to James Murray, MP, Executive Secretary to the Treasury, Labour, Ealing North. James, how are you?
Hi, I'm well, thanks. How are you?
Frustrated, my friend, and my job is to put to you in government what my viewers and listeners think. Where do you want to start, Gibraltar or the debacle that was the sort of spending review today? Where should we start?
Well, I would like to start by telling you about all of the investment that the Chancellor set out through the spending review today, which is going to renew our country. It's going to invest in people's priorities, from defence to health to economic growth, right across the country. And on the back of the difficult decisions the Chancellor took last year and the fiscal rules that she implemented, that means it's now possible to have a plan like that which she set out today, which will make a real difference to people's lives, make working people better off, get our country back on its feet.
James, these are a better country. You know my job, I know your job, and you're loyal, of course, to your party and to your boss. But let's just let me explain this in layperson's terms. He says, being politically correct. You tell me that your Chancellor wants to renew Britain. At what cost? You came to power talking about an 11 billion black hole, and you promptly gave the same amount to your trade union mates. Well, I've never understood about this government, and by the way, I was as hacked off as the Tories at the end as you were, right? What I've never understood, and you are a fiscal man, it was all about growth. How can you expect an economy to grow when you have made it so very difficult for small and medium-sized businesses with your NI increases and your workers' rights ideals? How do you expect growth to happen? Because this country, in terms of growth, is not only flatlining under Labour, it's going backwards, James Murray. That is a fact.
Well, the fact is that we were the fastest growing economy in the G7 in the first quarter of this year. Now, look, I'm not pretending that we haven't got a lot more to do to get us growing further and faster as a country. But if you look at the decisions that we took last year, you mentioned some of the difficult decisions on tax the Chancellor took at the autumn budget last year around national insurance, for instance. There's a reason why we had to take difficult decisions, and the reason why is because of the black hole that we inherited, because of the fiscal mess that we inherited. You seem to agree that we inherited a fiscal mess from the previous lot. We had to fix that. It would have been irresponsible.
But James. All right, let me pick you up.
And not take definitive action to steady the public finances.
You came out today and you said, I want to talk about these great things. Most people in this country, I think, would feel very strongly that we are in a hole. Let's talk about your boss's vow to end asylum hotels in 4 years. Let me not get a soundbite from you. Let me put you to a question from hundreds of people already that have contacted the show. Where are these asylum seekers going to go over the next 4 years? Why is it taking you 4 years? Where are they going to go? Social housing? Are you going to use old military bases? Where are they going to go? And why is your government not appearing in her way today and saying, this is how we're going to stop them coming in the first place, James Murray? We've heard nothing about that.
Well, you're absolutely right that we want to stop them coming in the first place. And one of the things the Chancellor announced as part of the spending review today is more money for the Border Security Command. So that's £280 million extra for border security to stop those boats coming in the first place by helping with all of our efforts on that front. But for the people who are here, for the asylum seekers who are here in hotels, the fact that so much public money is being spent
Where are
on
they
asylum
going to go,
costs,
James Murray? Where are they going to go? Where are they going to go then?
All right, So what we need to do first is get that backlog down. We need to take those decisions so that people are processed in terms of their applications, so that they have to return if they're rejected, and we have a decision on their case. What is really unacceptable is for so many people to be in hotels, which are particularly expensive.
Where are they going to go, James?
Yeah, it really irritates people.
Where are they going to go? Where are they going to go?
The Home Secretary will set out the plan for the next few years and how that will work.
But the Home Secretary's just had her budget cut by 2.2% and her hands are tied, James Murray. You know that. The Home Secretary was on resignation watch.
The reason for getting the Home Office budget down is because of the savings we will make in asylum hotel costs. Now, one of the reasons for having a spending review is so that you can set out plans over a few years, because we know with some of the problems that we face, some of the challenges we face as a country, they're not things you can fix overnight. They're not even things you can fix within 12 months. You need a few years to really solve them.
So you can't tell my viewers...
Asylum hotels is a really good example of it.
Let's just cut to the chase.
Can I just make this one? Can I just make this one?
Well,
can I just make this one final point on it, because it's an important one. If you've got a plan over a few years, like we have, we've said we're going to invest up front in transforming.
What is your plan? How are you going to stop the boats? How are you going to... OK, stop. Let me have my point. Answer two really simple questions very simply. Where are these asylum seekers going? It's a simple question. And what's your plan to stop them coming here in the first place? That's what people want, James. Where are they going?
Well, some of them will be sent home if their applications are rejected, and we want to bring down that backlog. That's the first duty, and that's what we've been doing since the election last year. And what we're saying is, for those people who are being processed, they're waiting for a decision to be taken. It is unacceptable to be spending so much money on expensive hotel accommodation.
So where are they going to go? Not the some who get deported. What about the not some who are going to still be here or are not going in hotels? It's not a difficult question, James, with respect. Where are these people going?
I said earlier on in our conversation today that there would have to be alternative accommodation for them. But the point with hotels is that hotels are particularly expensive, and it is really, it's really frustrating for everyone as taxpayers to be spending so much money on asylum hotels when there's so many other ways we could be spending money.
I know we haven't got much time. Appreciate your time. The other question from a very frustrated bunch of people is, today you've announced that the UK has agreed a fluid border between Gibraltar and Spain, which will not require checks on people crossing, not if you're Spanish. The government clearing the way to finalise a post-Brexit deal with the EU. Loads of people just ringing up and saying, can you ask this guy how in the name of God this agreement does anything for the interest, the best interest of the British people? Because even on the basis of passport showing, we will have to show our passports, the Spanish don't. How does Keir Starmer and your government believe that this deal does anything for the British people?
Well, you mean the deal that we've done with the EU, the recent deal? I mean, the point about that deal is about doing what's in our national interest. What we've done in terms of the deal that the Prime Minister struck with the EU recently is about doing what's in our national interest to help get regulation out of the way, to help our economy to grow, to help make sure that British businesses can export more, to bring down costs at the checkout for people, because we take away some of the costs of imports coming into the UK. It's about things which make life easier and better for all of us here. Lower prices at the checkout, making sure that British businesses can export.
The Gibraltar deal, which seems pro-Spanish and anti-English, is going to benefit the national interest in the long run.
Well,
is that what you're saying?
I'm talking about the EU. I'm talking about the EU deal as a whole that the Prime Minister struck, and the reason why it was so important. And the reason why is for bringing down prices. It brings down the prices when you go into the shops at the checkout. It brings down the costs for British businesses exporting, therefore helping them to grow. And you've got the EU deal, you have the India deal, you have the US deal. We're a government who's serious about working with international partners, working with other countries in the best interests of our economy. And that's what will help get the economic growth, which we spoke about earlier as being so important, which then puts our public finances and public services on a firm footing.
James Murray, MP, Executive Secretary of the Treasury, thank you very much indeed. 5 minutes to 5. Just a thought for you, peeps, and maybe I'm wrong. Do you think he believes what he's saying? Because I'm sat here thinking, how is that in the name of God benefiting Great Britain? 5 to 5.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On your smart speaker. On your smart TV. And on your side. This is Talk.
I don't want to be cynical, but honestly, has anybody else gathered? I still don't know where these bloody illegal migrants are going when they leave the asylum hotel. Where are they going? Oh, it's good for the national interest. Where are they going? Very quickly, Laura Jane is in Hampshire. You've got 1.5 minutes before I implode and head back the window. You're on. Hello.
Yeah, well, I'm about to implode too, but I just wanted to ask you why Mike is allowed to say what some of us have been saying for ages, from sort of COVID onwards, and we would be being called conspiracy theorists, that the government is intent on destroying our country through all sorts of different means, division, religious division, or obviously through immigration, etc. The divide between...
Because I don't... And do you know, it's a really, really salient point. I don't think they like Britain. I don't think they care about Britain. I think they're not into United Kingdom. I think they're into the global thing. I think they're globalists. I think they're human rights people. I think they care more about being seen to do the right thing in terms of the world. But that is screwing the British people. That's the issue, isn't it?
Yeah, but the point is that we have some of us who have been labelled. I'm 65, and I've never been on a march in my life, but I did during COVID because I believed strongly that everything was going to go wrong as a result of the way they were handling.
I've only got 30 seconds.
Okay, so I am a conspiracy theorist. Why is Mike allowed to say it and I'm not?
You can say what you want, love. Thank you very much indeed for being conspiracy theorist or not. It's really very simple. This country is on its uppers. We have a government that's selling us down the line. Firstly, the Chagos Islands, now Gibraltar. Where are the asylum seekers going to go? They're going to keep coming because this government hasn't got the balls or the intelligence to do anything about it. We've got the news at 5 and Isabelle Oakeshott next on Talk Drive.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, and you lot are right angry. I don't blame you. James Murray, the sort of shadow Secretary to the Treasury, was on. Sue, that last Labour spokesman sounds like he has a degree in dodging questions. Thank you, Susan. Well done, Jess, for persisting in asking that Labour man where the migrants will be going. One thing's for certain, they won't be anywhere near any of them. They should all be in detention centres, preferably offshore for processing, but he didn't have the balls to say it. Steph, Jesus, I don't really know what to say. That Muppet puppet from the government turns my stomach. How do we get these idiots out? Jez, what an absolute idiot James Murray is. He couldn't deviate from his script. Somebody needs to save us from this useless bunch. Andy in Northamptonshire, typical Labour, didn't listen to the question, refused to give straight, honest answers. Disgusting. It's all word salad, and no one with any brain cell believes a goddamn word that comes out of their mouths. Chris in Salisbury. Your interview with James Murray, was he reading out his homework? Does his mother know he's out? What a load of old... Yes, Peter Cox. Afternoon, Jez. The Labour MP that you were speaking to is the exact reason why hundreds of thousands of millions of trillions of people will not be voting Labour and will be voting Reform in the next election. Sue Newbold in North Yorkshire. Oh, my God, James Murray MP is like a robot. He clearly has just gone out with a pre-scripted response on auto-speak. It's painful listening to this bloke. I truly despair. I'm banging my head against the wall. Careful there, love. Natifari, oh my God, this James bloke's a joke. I can't get a straight answer. The migrants will not leave the hotels as they have nowhere to go, and this idiot government will never send them back. Just more lies. It's parrots. It's rubbish. Ian from Merseyside, why'd you bother asking the question, Jez? They get power from no giving an answer. Dryden's got it absolutely right. He doesn't have the balls to say what we all know. They'll be going into social housing. Can I make a point that Ryan made on me during the break? And I think he's absolutely right. I'm going to announce, I feel quite sorry. I agree with Ryan completely. You've got to feel quite sorry, haven't you, for James Murray? Because he's been sent out, right, at his boss's request, Rachel, whatever her name, Thieves. She's dropped them like in absolute mire, and they have not got anywhere to go. Everybody knows if you stand up and you say, I'm going to get people out of asylum hotels by 2029, it's going to save 30-40 billion quid. It's going to take 4 years. Whilst this happens, where are they going? We know where they're going to go. They're going to go to housing, and British people and hard-working homeless people, or whatever they are not going to be able to go anywhere because it'll all be about migrants. And it is not wrong to say that anymore. I am sick and tired of listening to people say, oh, these poor people. Well, what about the British people? To the phone line, Sussex. Anne, you're on Talk Drive. I'm angry now. How are you?
Oh, hello. Are you sure you want me to come on? Because I'm angry. All this is absolutely what we could have expected. One, the MPs, the people you're talking to, they're almost party hacks, you know. They're programmed. They believe in something, but not what's best for the British people, but what actually keeps them in the party and keeps them...
I think they just believe what they're told, Anne. I don't think they've got a convicted bone in their body.
Well, no, you're right. They haven't got in to politics because they, as we all did, some of us did years ago and some did, it was because we actually cared about people around us and our communities. Now they care about being seen somewhere in the party, and to get anywhere they've got to be yes men and women and just do what they're told. But the thing I rang in for, you know, Gibraltar is like the last straw with Chagos Islands, where we're going, what we're doing to our armed forces. It just all comes down to something that I think I've said to you before, and it sounds ridiculous. But when we see what's unfolding in this nation, you know, most of London is now inhabited by people who are not... some English born and bred, but of course there are. But it's where most of the people who come in go to, which Khan loves because they're all going to vote for him, and they don't speak English, and then they're all in the offices when they are employed, and you can't understand them when you ring through, which I've just done earlier, because they don't speak clear English. But the point is that what that Lucas Trust has predicted in the early 19th century is what is coming to fruition, and our world leaders believe it. The West has got to support the poorest parts of the world and take everybody in. Now, I hate poverty, whatever nation people come from, but this small island cannot be totally transformed to the countries that they've come from.
I completely agree. Don't think me rude, Anne. I've got to go on, but I completely agree with every word. 8 minutes past 5. Live across the UK. So many people. The Falklands next for Lammy. Brad the thing that puzzled me... yes, well, I'll do that in a minute. Yes. Oh, my God, Jezza. This government is absolutely and utterly tone-deaf. Kevin in Southampton. Barbara, I'm sitting here cheering. You're wiping the floor with that muppet, James Murray. I didn't mean to wipe the floor with them. I want a bloody answer. That's what I want from my politicians. Hello, Yvonne from Wakefield. That idiot hasn't been briefed about Gibraltar and the border. Absolutely disgraceful. Lammy has conceded Gibraltar and therefore the UK to the EU. Labour need to be replaced immediately before they do any more damage. Furious, Yvonne, you might be, but they're not going to be. We've got another 4 years of this. I told you. We all told you. The thing is, and this is really unpopular what I'm going to say, I lay more of the... I don't blame, actually, the electorate, strangely enough, weirdly. I blame the Tory party massively because they cocked up a magnificent opportunity and we have this mess because of them. Lewis, listening to that MP was hard work. Can England make its own stuff, please, and not import from Europe? No, we can't. But I'll tell you why we can't, right? We can't because at the end of the day, everything is so difficult to make any money. I've got my plumber, lovely man, Mr. Featley, who is ringing me right now and he doesn't know that I'm on air. Bless you, Mikey. I'll call you back. We're live across the United Kingdom. We say a very, very good afternoon to Talks International Editor. It's going to calm me down a bit because I'm about to blow. Isabelle Oakeshott, how are you?
I don't think I'm going to calm you down. I mean, probably the reason that I'm not as wound up as you is because I actually didn't hear your interview. And as soon as we finished up with this, I'm going to go straight to listen to it. But I can imagine how moronic and robotic it was. And I don't understand how people can get to the level of being a spokesman or being a junior minister and not realise how much it infuriates voters, not to just hear someone talking in a normal way. We don't want to hear about what you're delivering. You're not a pizza delivery driver. We don't want to hear about stakeholders. Or frameworks or any of that. We don't want to hear the same sentences repeated. Just tell us the truth. Just speak in a normal way.
I said in the end, I sort of feel a slight degree of... I feel sorry to a degree for people like James Murray because they've been thrown under a bus by Rachel Thieves. The truth is, when she stood up today and she said, I want to end the... I'm doing that bloody voice again. When I want to end the use of costly asylum seeker hotels by 2029 because I want to save billions of pounds, the first thing that sprung to my tiny little mind was, why by 2029? But more than that, two massive questions. Where are they all going to go? And none of them will say the truth, which is social housing, which will put the British people again at the back of the queue. But more than that, Isabelle, even more importantly, nothing in that statement about what the British people want to know, which is how are you going to stop them coming here in the first place? And nothing, just it's all in the British national interest. No, it's not. There's no national interest. You haven't got a plan. You're no better than the shoddy mess that was in before. In fact, frighteningly, I think you're worse.
So forget headlines. You know, the government will be delighted that a number of news outlets are running big headlines saying the government to end the use of asylum hotels by 2029. That is totally the wrong take on it. What she's actually said here is that they will keep using asylum hotels for another 4 years. And what does that mean? It means they have no intention of stopping the boats because the occupants of asylum hotels by and large are channel migrants. So essentially they've thrown in the towel. They have no plan to stop the boats. If they plan to stop the boats, they wouldn't be needing either asylum hotels or that other accommodation by 2029, you know, because they would have processed everybody who's currently in asylum accommodation in those hotels, and we would be able to shut those much sooner. So, I mean, I thought that was an astonishing admission. What I think voters want to hear is that they're ending the use of asylum hotels by December.
And deporting the illegal migrants and having the balls or the ability as a country to come up with a system of processing that says if there is no valid reason for you to not be in this country, you're gone. I'm not listening to international law. I'm not going to allow another whatever from wherever to use some excuse, some law that's been around for 80 or 90 years. It's time we went, you know what? I hear James Murray going, it's in the British interest. No, it's not in Britain's interest, because what's in Britain's interest is to stop the boats and stop the people coming in and make sure, sorry, I will be slagged off, I don't care, that the people of this country who pay all that they do in tax, right, and probably even more while she renews Great Britain, actually get value for money, because people in this country, which is why your partner's party is doing so well, is because Reform are standing and saying, we're going to put the British people first. Like Trump said in America, we're going to put the American people first. And love it or loathe it, that resonates now. Of course it does.
So, I mean, if this situation goes on for another 4 years, the mood of the country be absolutely boiling by the time of the next election. I don't think people can stand it for another 2 years, even for another year, never mind another 4 years. But the idea, the notion that tens of thousands of more migrants are going to come across the channel and continue being put in migrant hotels for such a long period, I think will enrage people. And if they think that that's a positive headline, then I think they're very naive indeed.
The naivety as well is when she talks about renewing Britain, we're going to spend this more on defence, we're going to spend this more on the NHS, we're going to spend 600 million quid on the UK's intelligence services. Anybody with a brain cell knows absolutely that what that means is we're going to be taxed more. Whether it's council tax or stealth tax, we're going to be taxed more. And again, I go back to, Isabelle, that whole ideology, which is that I think that the British people, I think even when austerity first came in, they understood things were hard and they were prepared to deal with you know, a few issues. What I think is so alienating and so agitating for so many people is we're paying more, we're being screwed, our lives are getting harder, and other people are benefiting from our hardship. That's what drives me every day to come here.
Tell you who's benefiting: the good people of Mauritius, who can probably hardly believe their luck since their income tax is being cut to next to nothing.
I can't believe this today. If you didn't hear Mike say this, the Mauritians who got given the Chagos Islands, they're now not having to pay any tax at all. I mean, it honestly is beggars belief.
Yeah. Thanks for that. So, but I mean, today has been a slew of horrendous revelations and headlines. Here's another one, and it links actually to the use of asylum hotels, if we're lucky in 4 years' time. The government is about to repeal laws that make it illegal to sleep rough. And what do you think that means? It means that we're going to get yet more shanty towns, you know, people erecting tents on Park Lane, in Mayfair, in prime parts of the UK, and also not just on the nicest places, not just on high streets up and down the country, but all over the place. And I'm sorry, but actually liberalising those laws is totally the opposite way.
Do you know why I love you? Because I'd never even thought about that. You are absolutely spot on right. Honestly, I read it this morning, Angela Rayner repealing those laws. Homelessness will not be a crime now. Our streets will now be... Now, all the do-gooders will say, you and Isabelle Oakeshott don't care about homeless people. Oh, I do. I care about veterans who don't have anywhere to live because the housing's being given to migrants. But you're absolutely right. Still further, it'll be OK to do. Honestly, mate, I know I look like I'm going to implode. As if I wasn't wound up enough, in the midst of the start, I then get given the piece of news that finally pushes me over the edge, and I freely admit I'm about to hit something. The UK has agreed to a fluid border between Gibraltar and Spain, right? Which will not require checks on people crossing, not from Spain to Gibraltar, but yes, from England to Gibraltar. The government has said it's clearing the way to finalise a post-Brexit deal with the EU. Now, staying as calm as I possibly should, and all the arguments, I've got James Murray, and I say to him, can you explain to me why allowing this strategic part of the Great Britain to go, like the Chagos Islands, allowing the Spanish not to share a passport but the British too. Can you please explain to me how that is in the British interest? Hadn't even been briefed, couldn't answer the question. It's beyond... Honestly, Isabelle, where do we end?
We end on almost getting to the point where we wonder if this government is literally trying to sabotage our own country. That's how it feels. It feels as if everything they're doing is actually designed to make Britain worse and poorer and weaker. And it is utterly baffling. What next? You know, is Lammy going to be gallivanting over to the Falklands and starting calling them the Malvinas? Probably.
I mean, that's what everybody's saying. What's next? You know, that has to be the truth. I mean, it's just... I don't know. It actually
makes me feel quite sick. I mean, it is so shocking.
We're a year in. I was as anti the Tories as you were at the end, and actually, as somebody who tries to maintain a degree of pride in Great Britain and being British, I sort of thought to myself, do you know what? maybe they'll be all right. Maybe they'll do better. I mean, it is absolutely catastrophic. Paul Jones says Labour and immigration is just the Titanic and deck chairs, and I agree with him. And you think to yourself, there's another 4 years of this. If this goes as long as it should, where will this country be? Maybe in terms of Lammy and his left-wing mates will be seen globally to be amazing because we've given away this and given away that. But I'll tell you something for real. I don't care who you are. The British people, the normal British working people who do everything right, and I say it every day, pay the taxes, don't ask for a handout, don't break the law, they are going to revolt. And I don't mean that, I'm not talking about taking to the streets. They're going to revolt against this government because this government is... It's appalling. It's utterly appalling. I don't know. It's quite depressing.
So there is some comfort, Jeremy, which is that it is so bad that people are not going to be deceived. You know, perhaps it has to get really, really awful to bring about the kind of earthquake that is required. Because for decades, people have only ever thought a government can be run by one of the two main parties, so-called main parties. And they've always just, governments have passed from one of those parties to the other with a short exception of the coalition. I think that this now gets so bad that the British electorate will consider doing things that they have never done before. And whether that's voting reform or whether it's voting some other party, I don't know. But I think that they are going to move in very large numbers away from those two main parties.
I agree, but my only concern with that, and we haven't got much time, but my concern with that was what Sir Simon Case said yesterday in his exclusive interview in The Sun with Harry Cole, which was that this country is shackled by debt, annihilation abroad, law disorder at home, and that any government, whatever its political persuasion, cannot act and cannot effect change because of the blob, which he used to run, and levels of bureaucracy. And listen, I voted for them. You know what I think? I would love Nigel Farage to stride into Downing Street, followed by the Tice man into number 11 in 4 years, and I will be as supportive as hell. But if you believe what people tell you, the levers are so great that anything you do gets sanded down and becomes ineffectual. What we need is somebody who says, do you know what? I don't care legally what gets thrown at me. I'm not bothered about the mass media coming after me. I'm going to take you on a journey because you believe in it, and I will take these people on, and I will do my very best, people, to make this country where it should be, which is not run by civil servants bowing and kowtowing to anybody and everybody to the detriment of its own people.
Well, that is effectively what Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng tried to do, and, came up against this very thing. They were basically destroyed by the blob within weeks. And, history would be very different if Liz Truss had held her nerve. Happened to think that, the fundamentals of what she was trying to do, she and Kwasi Kwarteng were trying to do, are actually things that, had they been able to stick with it, would probably have made the country a whole lot better than it is right now.
Listen.
So anyone who takes this on, they have got to have, I don't know, can I say this, balls of steel.
We're back to those monkeys in Gibraltar. We love having you on. Isabelle Oakeshott, thank you so much indeed. 5:20, busy hour. We got Graeme Stewart, the Conservative MP for Beverley. But next, the brand new ennobled political editor of The Sun, Jack Elsom, next on Talk Drive.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
5:23, we're live across the United Kingdom. JK on Drive. It's interesting, this media, isn't it? We're here talking about this useless government. We're here talking about what you, the British people, want. And in the midst of it all, my plumber, the excellent Mike Featley, I mean, that's a good plug for Mike, rings the show, forgetting that I'm on air. Then I get a message. I know you're plumber. I've been on a course. Now I've had another one. Featley, you're a legend. If you ever are in the Dorset area, Featley's your man. Give me a discount. 0344... Going to pay him in cash. I didn't hear that. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. We're back to Westminster, to the Green, to the recently ennobled... I'm watching my son massage Jodie's shoulders. That's a bit weird. The recently ennobled political editor of The Sun. I want his take on today's madness. Jack Elsom, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Jeremy.
Now, Oh, that was very serious. You sound like James Murray. Now, I'm going to make this very easy for you.
Serious faces for serious times, Jeremy.
Good man. I have just done an interview with James Murray, my friend, and I'd probably the most extraordinary interview that I've done in most of my life. The Executive Secretary to the Treasury, who came out with a script and refused to answer any question whatsoever. So I'm putting today in layman's terms, Jack. Rachel Reeves has vowed to end the use of costly asylum seeker hotels, saving billions of pounds, but it's infuriated people already because it won't happen till 2029. So the first thing that springs to mind, if you've got a brain cell, if you're a Sun reader, if you're a Talk listener, is this. If it's going to take you 4 years, where are those people going to go if they're not in hotels? James Murray, I asked him probably 9 times, and he couldn't say what we all know is the truth, which is social housing or whatever, right? But more than that, Jack, no plan at all about how we're going to stop the illegal migrants coming in the first place. And in the end, I felt sorry for him. I felt like his boss has sort of thrown him under the bus. It's extraordinary, man. This is infuriating people, Jack. Infuriating them.
I totally agree, and the reason that you asked him 9 times and the reason why 9 times he couldn't answer is very simple, and that's because he doesn't know. And at the moment, I think this plan raises a lot more questions than it answers. When I first heard this, I initially thought, oh, that is fantastic news. Rachel Reeves finally pledging to end the use of migrant hotels. But then there was sort of the kicker. One, it wouldn't happen until 2029. Many people are saying that actually this is a matter of national urgency, that we shouldn't have any migrants in hotels. But also, that is contingent on stopping boats coming across, and at the moment Labour are presiding over record numbers of small boats. And so if they are still committed to giving them some sort of accommodation, if not hotels, then what? We've heard rumours before about private housing, paying landlords more money from the taxpayer to put them up. We've heard about recently old student accommodation being used. So unless it actually brings down costs in the long run, people are still going to be annoyed. And if you actually look at the small print of the Treasury document today, over the next 4 years, we're still going to be paying £12.6 billion on asylum costs. And even in 2029, when Rachel Reeves says we will end the use of migrant hotels, it's still going to be £2.5 billion. So still massive, massive numbers due from the Channel crisis.
And not, as you said, and not the intelligence to say we're going to stop this problem being created, which in the long run will cost money. Just a headline. She wants to renew Britain. This also got me, Jack. You know, she's going to increase money on defence. She's going to spend £600 million pumping into the UK's intelligence services, more to the NHS to reduce waiting lists and modernise services. But again, our viewers, our listeners, I think, are going, OK, so you want to renew Britain, right? You make this big thing about coming into power and Britain had this black hole. Let's for once say we agree with them, there was a black hole. What you don't do is spend £11 billion giving your trade union mates a pay rise within weeks, because that makes the black hole even worse. Everybody knows, Jack Elsom, that the only way they are going to be able to, well, scratch the surface is by raising tax, be it council tax or personal tax. She needs to be honest, because every single person that I've spoken to since this came out is saying this is a sham. This is robbing from Peter to pay Paul, so that at the end the British people essentially will be paying more tax to maintain the services that they can't use anymore because they're being overrun by illegal migrants. Perfectly true.
Yeah, and I've just written a piece for The Sun which points out that Rachel Reeves 4 times used the phrase, these are Labour choices. Now, by Labour choices, she didn't seem to mean the sort of pro-business, cuddly Labour that we had before the election. It almost seems to be now the Labour of old. We are back into the era of high tax and high borrowing to fund massive, massive amounts of spending sprees. Yeah. And, you know, that means that the Chancellor is currently running the economy very, very hot. And if she doesn't get the fabled growth which she wants, then she might have to come back in the autumn for more tax rises. And let me tell you, the public will not thank her for that at all. They barely thanked her, or in fact, they didn't thank her at all. They're incredibly angry about the tax rises she put up at the last budget, £40 billion, £25 billion, which fell on businesses. That hasn't had a great effect.
How does that help growth? How does that help growth?
Well, exactly. And then if they come back for even more in the autumn, which many economists are now fearing, then I think it would just sort of feed into this whole narrative that Labour said one thing in opposition and during the election about keeping taxes down, and then they do the opposite in government. And trust, you know, we've said it on this show many, many times, trust once lost is incredibly hard to get back. So I do think that now, you know, the size of the state today has been massively inflated. You know, obviously we talked about taxes going up under the Tories, they're going up even more under Labour. And one thing I think your listeners should think about really carefully, and that is about income tax thresholds. It may sound really boring, but these are these stealth taxes where in the last budget Rachel Reeves made a massive play saying that she would unfreeze these thresholds finally, saving people, you know, billions of pounds in tax by 2028. Mel Stride asked her today to repeat that pledge, whether she would keep income tax thresholds unfrozen from 2028, and she wouldn't do it. That is a stealth tax by the back door, which could happen later down the line, so keep an eye on that.
You're in the know, you're there. We'll talk to you about Gibraltar in a tick. Just in terms of Rachel Reeves, I've had many opinions, and there's real anger. I mean, real anger. And you make a really good point, which is, can you ever get that back? Do you think she's toast? Because I do. I don't care what anybody tells me. I think she's toast. I think she will not make Christmas. Not at all.
Well, so we know that Keir Starmer can be ruthless and he doesn't, you know, make any bones about wielding the knife when it is politically expedient to him. But I actually think that she's probably safe for now. I think that Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves are so ideologically joined at the hip. You know, their political fates, I think, are entwined. And Keir Starmer has put a lot of faith in Rachel Reeves, and that first budget was his as much as it was hers. Maybe not winter fuel, I think that was definitely her decision, but the rest of it, I think, definitely they were in lockstep. And if the Prime Minister gets rid of the Chancellor, it is basically a serious admission that he has got it badly, badly wrong.
Well,
I mean, look at Liz Truss. I know she didn't last very long, but when she got rid of Kwasi Kwarteng, she was out the door not long after him. And so I think it's very dangerous for a Prime Minister to get rid of their Chancellor.
So outrage from all of our viewers and listeners today about this spending review and the fact that there's no plan to end asylum seekers, but we're going to end asylum hotels in 4 years, and no answer from Labour on how that's going to be dealt with. A Chancellor says we want to renew Britain, and all of my viewers and listeners are saying one thing, which is we're going to be paying more. This is an outrage. I thought that caused anger. And then the announcement about Gibraltar. Today, Great Britain and they've signed an agreement, a post-Brexit deal that will hand control of the territories border to Europe. Basically, and it's a great question from a guy, and I'd love your take on this. Bloke rang me up and he went, so let me get this right. If you're Spanish, you can go to Gibraltar without showing your passport. But Great Britain, well, if you're British, you have to. He said, can you ask James Murray how in the name of God that is in British interest? Because like the Chagos Islands, like Gibraltar, people are now saying the Falklands will be next. This government, far from sorting out anything at home, seemingly abroad, is only interested in giving away and putting us again at the back of the queue. People are really angry, Jack, genuinely really angry.
Yeah, it seems to be rolled up the white flag on Gibraltar, you know, and I think that many people will be incredibly angry that this great British holiday destination, sort of on the south coast of Spain, we've essentially, David Lammy's gone over there and caved to the Spanish and EU demands on this one, and British people now have to show their passports when they go in, from what I understand. I haven't been following it too closely today, and I think the Spanish police are also going to be monitoring the border. But I think, you know, again, it feeds into this entire narrative, which is very dangerous now for Keir Starmer, that you know, British overseas territories are at risk. We had Chagos obviously being the first one, obviously big frustration with many parts of his post-Brexit deal, which was was signed a couple of weeks ago. And I think that it's a shame because on many points, I think Keir Starmer's been doing quite well on the international stage, but when it comes to specific interests, Gibraltar being one today, it seems that he's on the wrong side of it.
It's interesting when you say on the international stage. I find the interesting about the Labour Party because, you know, a lot of people who listen and watch and colleagues here will say that the Labour Party it's not so much anti-British, but just more keen to be seen in the world as doing a good job, globalists, you know, apologists, whatever you want to say. I would simply say this, and to finish, I'd love your take on it. Whichever government is in power, if you don't put your people first, if you put other countries, other populations, if you don't concentrate on the very, you call it your bread and butter, you know what I'm saying, the average man and woman in Great Britain who worries about obviously the price of food and obviously the price of energy and obviously all of these things, and if you lose sight of that, you ultimately lose power. And I would say to any politician, the British public are, they're on the edge, but they're angry. I haven't known anger like this ever, and it ain't going to go away, Jack.
Yeah, and I think that one story today really speaks to that, and that is the fact that the Chagos deal, which we are paying billions of pounds to Mauritius, British taxpayers are paying for that deal. The Mauritian government have just announced they're going to use all that money to pay off their debts and then wipe off income tax for every single person in Mauritius. British people here are being saddled with the biggest tax burden since the Second World War. In the meantime, we're funding money, channeling it over to Mauritius, and the Mauritian people are suddenly now managing to avoid any income tax whatsoever. What a kick in the teeth for the people of this country.
Couldn't agree more, mate, and thank you. Really, really appreciate your time. I know how busy you are and important you are, Elson, but sticking to his word, he'd be on. We love him very much. 25 to 6 o'clock. We'll get a Tory view next. Graeme Stewart, one of 121 remaining Tory MPs, MP for Beverley and Aldernis. Next on Talk Drive.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
4 minutes to 6 o'clock. So we've heard from... have you got a little bit of James Murray, or do you not want to do it? You don't bother about it? I just want to play a little bit. Can I just before I bring Graeme Stewart on, James Murray is the sort of Secretary of the Treasury. Today, his boss, Rachel Reeves, vowed to end the use of costly asylum seeker hotels in a move that could save taxpayers billions. What she did also go on to say was, it's not going to be till 2029. When we came on air, we were thinking, right, so it's not going to be till 2029. You haven't got a plan on how to stop the bloody illegals coming in the first place. But most of all, where are you going to put these people? Why are you not brave enough to say housing? I tried 9 times. Have a little sneak peek. Where are these asylum seekers going to go over the next 4 years? Why is it taking you 4 years? Where are they going to go? Social housing? Are you going to use old military bases? Where are they going to go? And why is your government not appearing in her way today and saying, this is how we're going to stop them coming in the first place, James Murray? We've heard nothing about that.
Well, you're absolutely right that we want to stop them coming in the first place. And one of the things the Chancellor announced as part of the spending review today is more money for the Border Security Command. So that's £280 million extra for border security to stop those boats coming in the first place by helping with all of our efforts on that front. But for the people who are here, for the asylum seekers who are here in hotels, the fact that so much public money is being spent
Where are
on
they
asylum
going to
hotel
go,
costs,
James Murray? Where are they going to go? Where are they going to go then?
So what we need to do first is get that backlog down. We need to take those decisions so that people are processed in terms of their applications, so that they have to return if they're rejected, and we have a decision on their case. What is really unacceptable is for so many people to be in hotels, which are particularly expensive.
Where are they going to go, James?
It really irritates people.
Where are they going to go? Where are they going to go?
The Home Secretary will set out the plan for the next few years and how that will work.
But the Home Secretary's just had her budget cut by 2.2% and her hands are tied, James Murray. You know that. The Home Secretary was on resignation watch.
The reason for getting...
I think that gives you an idea. That went on for about 9 minutes and still we got no answer. Let's hear from Graeme Stewart, Conservative MP for Beverley at Alderness. Graeme, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Jeremy.
I'm even more angry with your party today, even more angry than I've ever been. This is an absolute shower. I came in today, she has the temerity to say we're going to end asylum seekers in hotels. I thought, hurrah, in 2029. Another 4 years of billions of pounds, Graeme. Not a, oh, this is how we're going to stop the boats. I wasn't a fan of Rwanda, but at least you had a plan. But more than anything, an absolute refusal there to say what every single person listening to this show and watching knows, which is that those people are going to end up in social housing, that the houses are built by Labour, despite the fact they're behind their target, and people of this country, be they ex-servicemen or men and women who have struggled, they're not going to get a house, are they? Because yet again, this country is putting British people at the back of the queue. It's unacceptable, Graeme Stewart. Totally unacceptable.
It is totally unacceptable. You get a little bit of hope. You hear about the increase, like 39 billion, isn't it, for housing. You go, oh, good. Because my children struggle to get on the housing ladder. We know everybody is struggling across the country. People paying huge amounts of their pay just to live in a place that's much smaller than you and I would have had when we were their age, when it cost us far less. And instead of having hope, it turns out it's just going to be housing the immigrants who they can't control, because they won't control it. They banned Rwanda. They said they need to find an alternative. They've done nothing about it. And now they're saying 2029. From smash the boats to let them all in, and let's let fly with more borrowing, more tax. She is the Klarna Chancellor, Jeremy, because it's spend now, pay later.
Three payments, Klarna Reeves. I like that. That's a new name.
She's just spend, spend, spend. And if only it was for a purpose. We're spending on islands we already own, Diego Garcia. And as you said, as you know, your bloke from the Sun was just saying, it's incredible. It's hard. Your brain struggles to take it in.
Well, actually, when I say you're going to have to be a bit more, Stuart, you're going to have to be more respectful than that bloke from the Sun's, the new political editor, Jack Elson.
Oh, I hear you. Very important.
But I get your point. She talks about wanting to renew Britain, and anybody with a bloody brain cell's going, it's just going to cost us more tax. And yet you came in saying the Tories, and it's true, highest taxation in 70 years. We were doing slightly better financially. I give you that. This woman has completely messed up the economy, and I believe she's toast. On top of that, as if that wasn't, I haven't got a load of time, as if that wasn't bad enough, even more annoying for my viewers and listeners, sort of sidling in today, old Lammy's gone to Gibraltar and given Gibraltar, again, screwed the British. We'll have to show our passport, that the Spanish don't. On the back of the Chagos Islands, we've now given Gibraltar away. What's next? The Falklands. It absolutely highlights in the minds of so many people who watch and listen to this station that this government is anti-British and more interested in how they look globally than how they do at home, Graeme Stewart. Genuinely believe that.
Sell us out. I think you've expressed it well enough, Jeremy. I'm very unlike you. But when you and I fly into Gibraltar for the weekend, a part of Britain, so we fly from the UK to the UK and Gibraltar, we will have to show, thanks to this deal they're announcing today, have you seen the picture of them all celebrating?
Yeah.
I mean, celebrating the fact that you and I, and all your viewers, will have to show our passport to an EU guard to enter part of our own country.
Ridiculous.
I mean, You can't believe it. But the good news is, if you go on holiday in Mauritius, I tell you, you're going to get the warmest welcome in the world, because every single Mauritian person, young and old, rich and poor, is going to know, thank you so much, Jeremy. Thank you, Talk viewers. You have made me pay no income tax at all.
Do you know, as if you didn't want to.
Public services, high debt. But thanks to you, Mauritius will have no national debt.
Do you know what? You've just done like
they are going to love us when we go.
Well, mate, you've been punching me in the body and punching me in the head, and that's the knockout blow. If you are tuning into Drive Time for the first time, this government gave away the Chagos Island, and we gave 30 billion quid to the Mauritian government. And ladies and gentlemen, so delighted are the Mauritian government with getting all of this land and all of this money. They've wiped off their national debt, and they've announced that all Mauritians will not be paying any income tax. And if you're British and if you're in this country, and I'd love one lefty to have a go at me about this, basically what Starmer's done is make sure that the Mauritian people are even better off than we are. We are paying for them to be income tax free. And do you know what? I genuinely, you know what I think about you lot at the end, right? I seriously, for the first time in my life, I'm proud of being British. I want this country to be successful. I wasn't happy with the Tories at the end. I'm not happy with what Badenoch's not doing now. I don't know about reform. I voted, and I've told you the honest truth about that. But this country is on a precipice. I think people are really, really angry, like I've never known them angry, Graeme Stewart.
And we're driving. I mean, you go back. I mean, one of the reasons Labour got in, Jeremy, is they said they'd make economic growth the number one priority. And you went, yeah, because if you don't get more wealth created, you can't invest in the NHS, you can't look after the poor, you can't do schools, etc. They were right. But they've done the opposite. And what they're actually doing is driving the highest taxpayers out of the country. So everyone, it's always popular, let's hit the rich. Well, when they leave the country, because the top 10% of taxpayers pay 60% of the biggest single receipt the government has, which is income tax. Now, if you tell them that you don't care about them, in fact, for class war, you're going to put 20% VAT on their private school when they have the audacity to pay for their own schooling as well as paying tax for all the rest of us, our children's schooling as well. If you tell them that, you hit them on every single front. Do you know what they do? They go to Dubai, they go to Italy. Have you seen hundreds of thousands?
Do you know how much it costs the Exchequer to lose all these millionaires? Do you know how much that is so short-sighted?
Leaving the rest of us with nout. Absolutely. We're back to the Labour governments of the 70s, when every footballer, every film star, every rock star, even though they were all very left-wing, what do? They left the country because that's where the taxes took them. And that is, they are destroying us on every front. They're selling us out abroad, and they are eroding the tax base, which they need in order to do the things they love doing, which is spending. They love to spend. And Rachel Reeves today was very popular in the House of Commons with the Labour MPs behind her. Love it. Pork barrel. She was naming Labour seat after Labour seat. Interestingly, only Labour seats where she's going to spend this money. But there was not a word about how you're going to grow the wealth to pay for it. And they got elected because they promised, they understood at last, that you build the wealth first and then you can share it with everybody.
How bad do you feel this afternoon when you watch what's happening and you listen? How bad do you feel that it was, and I'm being completely honest, that the Tory party did such a bad job at the end that the British people stopped listening to them and voted this shower of what's it in? Because it's true. It's true.
Well, yeah, Jeremy, but you also, you helped make sure that we didn't win. So, I mean, I'm supposed to say in penitence and take all the responsibility.
By voting reform, I made sure you wouldn't win. I'll tell you exactly why, because I took real...
I said at the election, Jeremy, I said vote reform, get Labour. Well, guess what?
No. I don't believe it was that in its entirety. I think that the truth of it... I'll tell you what really did it for me, and I'm being straight with you, we're mates, right? Yeah. Was when I heard Tories say, reform are far right. The Tory party, starting with Johnson and finishing with Sunak, to me, lost sight of traditional Tory values. Low taxation, a strong border, a strong military, not a fear of crime, but criminals being frightened of authorities. Those very things that we, people of my age, were brought up on. And that is what Nigel Farage has managed to claim. Now, whether he can see that through, I don't know. But that is what, for me, changed my mind. But whatever happened, whether it's Farage, the Tories, or I don't know, whatever party.
The point is, Jeremy,
somebody's got to do something.
Nigel Farage has identified a lot of the problems, and he's challenging us to make sure we deliver, we communicate, and we show we're committed to exactly those things you've said. And insofar as we failed to do so, we are authors of where we are now and where the whole country is now. So I do accept that. And what we've got to do is make sure, I don't think that Nigel does have the answers in government, but he is brilliant at analysing the problems, and he is challenging us to be the best version of ourselves. He's providing us competition on the right, and we have to respond, and we have to win you back, we have to win others back, and if we don't, we'll deserve what we get. But the country doesn't deserve what it gets. It had a government that promised it was going to be sensible, it was going to build economic growth and deliver on the public services. Instead, they're wrecking the very engine of growth, and then internationally, they just sell us out from Chagos to Gibraltar.
Gotta go.
Trade deal onwards. It's a disaster as far as I'm concerned, and as you say, we bear some responsibility for that, but I've got to make sure we win next time. I've got to make sure people get behind the Conservatives.
Graeme, listen, I love
working with you, Jeremy.
You're a good man. You're a good man. Money's in the post. We'll have you on again. Graeme Stewart, Conservative MP for Beverley and Holden. It's 12 minutes to 6, which means tonight Sam Ellard, our sports guru, was going to have about 8 or 9 minutes to talk about how crap England are at football. Back in 3.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 8 minutes to 6. We're live across the UK. Push the button, Ames.
Sport Summary on Talk.
I am delighted to be joined for 8 minutes by Sam Ellard.
Woo! The longest ever sport here on Jeremy Cole's Drive Time Show. How are you?
I'm all right. Why are you talking to your microphone?
No, I'm just making sure the mic. Normally,
you met your illegitimate brother. Henry's here today.
Hilarious. Henry's your son.
He's brilliant.
He's some character, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Some of the things he said to us.
We don't talk about that on air.
Why not?
No, because it's not fair.
Why not? Because you always bring up things I don't want to talk about on air.
Because he's my son and you're not, and I'll sue your ass.
Wind up.
I know. Which one's it going to be? All right, your mother and I know each other well.
There we go. Very
Can
funny.
I just say that we left this show last night and we were like, you were saying, Jez, come on. And you do say this to me, stop being cynical, get behind it. And I've tried. And every time I get passionate about England or something, and we're doing well in cricket, I gather that, mate, I mean, we've got a government that seem to hate Britain. We've got a German football coach who is deliberately sabotaging. We lost to Senegal. And I mean, you lot are professionals. That's beyond bad. They looked disinterested. They looked disjointed. When Thomas Tuchel semi-slagged off Gareth Southgate, he needs to swat. Really? Disgraceful.
You can be as cynical as you want today. You're going to have no arguments with me. That was pathetic last night.
You see it coming? You see that coming?
I didn't see a defeat coming. I probably saw another laborious, boring 1-0 win.
Why?
Where we got over the line, like we did against Andorra. It's an England team that is lacking confidence, lacking quality. What amazes me, Jeremy, for even the England team on Southgate that did well, got to semis and finals. How is it that when you look at an England team on paper, we have some unbelievable players that are playing for some of the best teams in the world and they're having amazing seasons. Every single time they come together with England, whether it's a qualifier, major tournament or a friendly like last night, you sit there and you are bored. And sometimes against teams like that, you get over the line. But Jess, it is remarkable.
I've got a theory about this, and it's a golf theory. And don't look at the clock because it's true.
No, I was looking
we
at my new
for
haircut,
years lost the Ryder Cup to the Americans, right?
Yeah.
Because they were infinitely better. And then somebody created, I think it was Tony Jacklin, this analogy that Europe, right? The only way to win the Ryder Cup is for less talented players to have such a team ethic and be out there and to sweat and die for each other. And the Americans are now the best players in the world, right? But they're individuals. They're not a team, and they've done so well in the Ryder Cup because of that team ethos. I look at England. I don't see any camaraderie to get to the ball, to beat the man, to stick up for... Honestly, I thought they looked like a bunch of overpaid prima donna. It's embarrassing, man.
I think one thing
team ethic.
I think one thing Gareth Southgate did really well was actually bring that camaraderie together.
Yeah.
Speak a lot about the golden generation. Team on paper was an absolute joke. Should have won everything.
Do you want to digest
but there was good
Rich
catch.
tea, good catch.
Good skin fade, by the way. Normally loves to comment on my haircut. I thought the skin fade's looking quite fresh, a fresh skin fade. Your boy could do one of those, couldn't he? Crikey. Anyway, going back to no, little trim.
We're trying to do sport here. You said you haven't got much time. You're talking about Henry's hair. Why are you talking about a 16-year-old boy's haircut? It's a bit weird, isn't it?
You're just doing the digestive across the table while I was trying to make a point about the golden generation being full of... Why do you like my hair?
I'm joking. I'm winding you up.
Being full of top-quality individual players, but having club cliques...
But look about Lampard and Scholes and all that. We couldn't win,
But then
Jack.
Gareth Southgate did bring the country together. Mate, someone said to me earlier, you know what? Kind of style of play in international football, it's all a little bit irrelevant. The teams that do well in major tournaments are teams that are well drilled, well organised, and good defensively.
I don't think they play to their ability. I think they're too scared to make a mistake, and that they're too.
And do you know what, Jeremy? He's got 1 year. He's got a year to figure
Wrong man
out.
for the job. Told everybody I'm going to get slagged off by
got 4 more
Eddie
camps.
Howe should have been.
He's got 4 more camps to try and work out a style, a template.
How work it out? Play football. Try and score a goal and stop the... honestly, in the end, you talk about 1-0 and drills and all that. I don't see flair. I don't see any of the stuff that...
A couple of things last night that I didn't like. I can't believe Trent Alexander-Arnold on the bench once again. An England team lacking quality. You've got the best ball-playing player, best playmaker in that team, sat on the bench 2 games in a row.
Don't like Bellingham's attitude, by the way. Don't understand when Morgan Gibbs-White doesn't get a look in. Ivan Toney ignored. Don't understand it. Really, really don't. I honestly, to me...
But it's coming home, though, isn't it? It's coming home. It's too early to say.
It's 1 year until the 2026 World Cup starts. Our next qualifier is September against Andorra.
And this is the problem as well, was like, these games, like, you don't learn anything from these games, even in victory. Even if England play really well, it's like, but it's Andorra. So this is the problem. Between now and then, he probably won't play a tough competitive game until, let's say, we get to the quarter-final.
It's embarrassing.
It's hard to build anything, Jeremy. But
you could have put the Watford team out last night and they would have looked more impressive. Good to celebrate in tennis today. Emma Raducanu, beaten again.
With
there
Katie
we go.
Boulter.
Oh, only half the responsibility.
Yeah, I'm just saying it was in doubles, wasn't it? Should we do a little bit of no run?
Listen, fair play England, winning again last night. 6 wins in 6 for Harry Brook as the one-day captain. 3 in the 50.
Harry Brook. Na. Harry Brook. Harry Brook.
So
6 wins from 6, JK.
Who said he'd be the England captain?
Everyone.
No, I did. You laughed at me.
No.
You laughed at me.
You said it
a year ago.
I'll give you credit for that.
Yep.
But one thing I would say, Jez, is I think he was tipped by many people to be the next white ball captain.
Not when I did it.
Is that right?
Anyway, listen, amazing. And it's the World Test Championship today as well.
Right now at Lords.
Australia, South Africa. I really fancy South Africa in this game, and they started brilliantly.
Haven't had a good hour. They bowled Australia out for 212. Kagiso Rabada, what a bowler, picking up a 5-wicket haul. That's the goodness.
A fiver?
Yeah. What did I say?
How many did Steve Smith get, by the way?
He got 50. He got 66 in total. So the good news in Africa is they bowled Australia out for 212. The bad news is they're currently 34 for 4 in reply.
Oh, that's all got a bit wrong then.
Not off to a good start. So with the bats, they trailed by 178 with 6 wickets in hand. World Test Championship final at Lords today. Jez?
Golf. 1.5 minutes to go. My son's going to be a pro golfer. He's obsessed. He's brilliant. It's the US Open at Oakmont, the hardest golf course that will ever stage the US Open. The last time there, Dustin Johnson +5 will win. No, I promise you, +5 will win. There's a par 3 that's 300 yards long. You've got to hit the ball straight and hit the greens. 16 on the stimp meter on the greens, like lightning glass. Give me a pick.
A berg.
A berg?
Tomato.
Oberg, you completed Oberg. A burger.
Hey, that's who I'm going for.
Who's Henry? Just shout to me. Who's Henry saying will win the US Open? Shout it out, H. Who's he got? Time is money. Ryan's gone Bryson DeChambeau. Not a hope in hell. Patrick Reed and Harry. No, it's got to be somebody who hits it straight down the middle.
So you're saying Scotty Scheffler?
No, maybe. Somebody like Justin Thomas. Somebody who just plungs it. I promise you.
Who's making my pick?
Who's that?
A berg.
Oberg.
Yeah, him.
Maybe.
Ludwig
I don't
Oberg.
know. I think it could be. Anyway, I don't think it'll be Rory McIlroy. But
on a serious note, that this is why this major is so unique, isn't it? Because the course is so difficult and so tricky.
Yeah, I played 9 holes yesterday. Fell down 3 of them. Sam Allard, thank you for a marvellous week's sport. We love you, Mum. The news is next.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hour 3 of Drive, we're live across the United Kingdom, just gone 6. I'm here as the fluffer for Kevin O'Sullivan. He's on at 7 o'clock tonight. Amazing. If you want to be part of the debate between now and then, as ever, listen, phone us. We'll get you on 0344 499 1000. You can send a WhatsApp voice note. We need to do that one that we forgot before. 0344 499 1000 for a voice note. You can, of course, get us via text 87222. Start your message with the word talk. Steve says, yet again, we are giving up another strategic area in Gibraltar. What the hell is happening? Dean says, Labour is not worried about spending on the hotels till 2029 because they won't be in power, but there will be no money left. Reform will find it so difficult. Hello to Steve in London. Not sure what party says. Tell Graeme Stewart the main reason Labour got us in is because of the useless Tories. I said that to him, Steve. The Tories have to take responsibility. Paul Hart, good evening to you. Good evening, Jez. You're absolutely correct. I'm angry at this pathetic, unpatriotic Labour government. They are useless. Starmer and co need to listen to the British people now. How are we going to tolerate this lot for another 4 years? God knows, mate. Hello to Francis from Sussex. So all the migrants will come over to claim asylum in Gibraltar. That's going to happen as well. Don't the government realise? Probably that's why they've done it. Anne from Wales, great show, Jez. When Mel Stride made his reply to this economic statement, I don't know if you're watching, Jez, she said, old Rachel Thieves kept her head down the whole time. Louise, I guess you're dreaming, I get it. She's in Ipswich. She says we need all MPs to go for a vote of no confidence. You'd have Reform, the Tories, probably the Irish MPs and the SNP, independents. Surely there are enough decent MPs to make sure that this lot are out. No, there aren't. They've got a majority. It doesn't work like that. Cliff and Berkshire, don't forget that from October, Brits visiting the EU Schengen area will have to have their photograph and fingerprints taken on entry. Simon Dunnage, hello to you. David Jouet, hello to you. Stephen Yorkshire, I think we've already done that one. And hello to Donna in Birmingham. Can I just say, wow, that James Murray interview. I thought I was watching a rerun of Spitting Image. To the phone lines. Peter is in Dorset. Going to cram through these. So many. Pete, you're on. Couple of minutes. Go.
Hi, good evening, Jeremy. I think that all you presenters have probably got a competition on about who can be the funniest. You certainly make us laugh with all the rubbish that's going on. But this won't make you laugh. And the fact is that we have got a situation through these... where the defence is going to be up to 2.6% by the end of 27, and we've got asylum hotels might be finished up by the end of the Parliament. This country is being weakened internally and externally. And in my mind, the way these totally incompetent people are in the Labour Party are completely set about in weakening this country. I mean, we've had Labour parties in before. We've had every kind of a party in before, whoever they are, and you may not agree with their politics, or you may not agree with whether they're charging the rich with a bit more tax or all the rest of it. But at least there was half a chance that they could actually run something.
I tell you what I take from your call, and it's something that I said earlier, and I'm going to repeat, and I'd love people's take on this in the next hour. I have this horrible, horrible feeling in my guts that we are in the throes, if you like. We are experiencing a government that is going to take a wrecking ball to so much that many of us believe is important. They have no regard, belief, desire or love for the United Kingdom. They're not interested in legacy. They're more interested in what their European left-wing mates think. And I don't think they give a toss the situation that this country will be in. If you remember 15 years ago when they left power, that famous note from Liam Byrne, it said there's no money left. This country will be bankrupted. I am not in any way sticking up for the Tories, who messed up big time, but there's no doubt fiscally we're in a far better position. There's also absolutely no doubt that what Rishi Sunak said in that last speech as the leader of the then opposition was absolutely correct. This is nothing more than typical left-wing socialism from the 70s, which is tax the rich, alienate anybody who's got a business, pay your union mates and anybody else who doesn't deserve it as much as they want, while screwing the British people. And I'll tell you what I think, Pete, and I've got to move on, it ain't going to wash. Let's go to Spain very quickly. Andy, you got out, you lucky man.
Yeah, hi Jeremy. Yeah, good evening to you. Yeah, I've not got out yet, but I've been here about 25 years and I've watched the situation deteriorate. I live between Spain and the UK. I was in my hometown, which is about 20 minutes outside East London, directly by car. You couldn't recognise it now. What's happened in the last 3 years? Fantastic town. Most of my friends are taking flight now. They're moving to Suffolk, Norfolk, different places. I now have made my mind up. Under this government especially, I'm putting my house up for sale. As much as I regret it.
Can I jump in, right? Can I jump in? I want to make a point, because a lot of people who would listen to this will go, here's what I'm going to say. And I tell this story so often, Andy, and I apologise, but I know all sorts of people who have come here. My makeup artist came from Poland, built a successful business, employs people, works like an absolute dog, 24 hours a day. A guy that picks me up sometimes came from Bangladesh with his parents 40 years ago. His dad said, be grateful to this country, make a success, give back, work hard. These two people who I know really well are both more angry about what we give to illegal migrants as against our own people than people who were born here. I don't care about the colour of your skin. I don't care about your religion or your creed. What I care about is this country on a course which says we're going to do everything for everybody and absolutely nothing for the British people. In fact, what we're going to do is we're going to bend over backwards for everybody, and it's going to cost the British people. And I want Starmer and whether it's Johnson, whoever they are, to be able to look the British people in the eye and go, are we doing our best by you? That's not racist, that's not outrageous, it's not far right. We've always done our best by everybody. About time, in my humble, we started doing our best by the people of this country, and I don't think we are, Andy, do you?
I agree with you on some points there, absolutely, but it's these people that are walking around our town do not work, Jeremy.
Nope.
They drive because they get their money from the government to come down to outside places. They buy their brand new Range Rovers, they drive in their brand new cars. They do not work, Jeremy. It gets people's backs up. It's non-means tested, so they're allowed to spend whatever they do. They cannot afford to service them. I know this for a fact. It's just a shambles. Where we live is just an absolute joke. I'm sorry. And
no, listen, I don't mean to cut you because I love having you on, but I'm going to have to move on. I've loads and loads and loads of people. So thank you very much indeed, Andy in Spain. Can I just give everybody, actually, I'll do this in a minute. Can I just give everybody a thought? If you're feeling particularly down, okay, one thing you should feel good about. The Mauritian people love you, peeps. The Mauritian people who got given £30 billion, their government did, by our government plus the Chagos Islands, the Mauritian government in the last 3 hours has announced that they've paid off their national debt and that all Mauritians will not pay any income tax for the next 12 months. So if you are on the way home struggling, you can't pay a bill, you paid lots of tax, you're wondering how you're going to pay for the increased prices of energy and food, don't worry, because the Mauritians, they're doing great. We say a very good evening. I can't wait for this. Brendan O'Neill, chief political writer of Spiked. Hello, Brendan.
Hey, Jeremy. How you doing?
I think you are witnessing my breakdown live on the radio. Were you listening to James Murray earlier?
No, I missed that, sadly.
Would it be all right if I played it? Simply so I can watch your reaction, listen to your reaction. For anybody who wasn't listening an hour and a half ago, James Murray is the, he's number 3 at the Treasury under Rachel Thieves, and he came on because today, of course, is the day that Rachel Thieves vowed to end the use of costly asylum seeker hotels. So when that came out of her mouth, we were all very excited until we discovered that this isn't going to happen until 2029. So immediately on Drive and across the station, I'm thinking, we wanted to ask 2 questions. If they're not going to be in a hotel, where are they going to be? Where are they going to go then? Nobody will say housing. Nobody. And actually, whilst you're talking about banning it, a plan to stop them coming here in the first place? 95 times I asked him. This is James Murray an hour ago on Talk. Have a listen. Where are these asylum seekers going to go over the next 4 years? Why is it taking you 4 years? Where are they going to go? Social housing? Are you going to use old military bases? Where are they going to go? And why is your government not appearing in her way today and saying, this is how we're going to stop them coming in the first place, James Murray? We've heard nothing about that.
Well, you're absolutely right that we want to stop them coming in the first place. And one of the things the Chancellor announced as part of the spending review today is more money for the Border Security Command. So that's £280 million extra for border security to stop those boats coming in the first place by helping with all of our efforts on that front. But for the people who are here, for the asylum seekers who are here in hotels, the fact that so much public money is being spent
Where are
on
they
asylum
going to go,
costs,
James Murray? Where are they going to go? Where are they going to go then?
So what we need to do first is get that backlog down. We need to take those decisions so that people are processed in terms of their applications, so that they have to return if they're rejected, and we have a decision on their case. What is really unacceptable is for so many people to be in hotels, which are particularly expensive.
Where are they going to go, James?
It really irritates people.
Where are they going to go? Where are they going to go?
The Home Secretary will set out the plan for the next few years and how that will work.
But the Home Secretary just had her budget cut by 2.2% and her hands are tied, James Murray. You know that. The Home Secretary was on resignation watch.
The reason for getting the Home Office budget down is because of the savings we will make in asylum hotel costs. Now, one of the reasons for having a spending review is so that you can set out plans over a few years, because we know with some of the problems that we face, some of the challenges we face as a country, they're not things you can fix overnight. They're not even things you can fix within 12 months. You need a few years to really solve them.
So you can't tell my viewers...
Asylum hotels is a really good example of it.
Let's just cut to the chase.
Can I just make this one? Can I just make this one?
Well,
can I just make this one final point on it, because it's an important one. If you've got a plan over a few years, like we have, we've said we're going to invest up front in transforming.
What is your plan? How are you going to stop the boats? How are you going to... OK, stop. Let me have my point. Answer two really simple questions very simply. Where are these asylum seekers going? It's a simple question. And what's your plan to stop them coming here in the first place? That's what people want, James. Where are they going?
Well, some of them will be sent home if their applications are rejected, and we want to bring down that backlog. That's the first duty, and that's what we've been doing since the election last year. And what we're saying is for those people who are being processed, they're waiting for a decision to be taken, it is unacceptable to be spending so much money on expensive hotel accommodation.
So where are they going to go? For not the some who get deported. What about the not some who are going to still be here or are not going in hotels? It's not a difficult question, James, with respect. Where are these people going?
I said earlier on in our conversation today that there would have to be alternative accommodation for them. But the point with hotels is that hotels are particularly expensive, and it is really, it's really frustrating for everyone as taxpayers to be spending so much money on asylum hotels.
Brendan, I nearly had a breakdown. I know. I genuinely don't know what to say anymore. I'll get on to Gibraltar in a minute. I mean, what the hell was that all about?
He was like a rabbit in the headlights. He didn't know what to say. He doesn't know what he thinks. He doesn't know what his own government thinks. And you really nailed him on that question of where are they going to go. If the government really does get them out of the hotels, I'm not convinced they will, then where are they going to go? That's the question they can't answer, because we can all sense what the answer probably is. Some of those billions they're going to be spent on new housing, some of those houses will go to these illegal arrivals. They will be put up in rented accommodation. That will be paid for by us yet again. It will just be moving the problem around like chess pieces on a board rather than solving it at its source. And they are useless at everything they touch.
And then, of course, today Rayner announces that sleeping rough is going to be de-illegalised, for want of a better phrase. So what are we going to have? Our streets now full of migrants sleeping on the streets. And before people phone me up and go, yeah, that's really unfair, they're coming from war-torn countries, stay in your tent in France. I'm more bothered about homeless veterans. Sorry, but that's how I feel.
The tent cities that I'm seeing emerging in parts of London are really concerning. Anyone who's to Los Angeles, I know you have, Jeremy, you will know that there are parts of Los Angeles that are just, it's in a real state right now, but there are parts of that city that are just tent after tent after tent, entire encampments where people live for their whole lives. They're a real eyesore. They're incredibly dangerous. They make the city feel unsafe. We are heading in that direction. We are heading for tent cities in the United Kingdom for two reasons. Firstly, because as those scenes show, more and more people are turning up every single day illegally, and the government can't control the borders. And the government has just de-illegalized sleeping on the streets. That's a toxic combination that is going to make our streets and our cities even less safe.
I find it frightening, and I listened to her. I tried my best, and when the Labour won the election, as I said earlier to somebody, I'm proud of being British. I want this country to work. She talks about renewing Britain. She talked about more money for the NHS, more money for defence, £600 million pumped into the UK's intelligence services. But we all know, cuts the Home Office, so police are out the window, let's forget crime then. We all know that the only way this ridiculous left-wing socialist government is going to balance the books is by raising tax. And if you come to power and you talk about growth, because growth filters down and everybody benefits, but it doesn't work like that, because what they've done is screw anybody with a business, small or medium-sized, with NI rises and workers' rights rules. Anybody who's successful and has got a few quid and pays billions of pounds, by the way, to the Exchequer, they're all leaving because they don't want to be in a country that seems to crush any ambition and any success. And you're just looking at a government, if you're a person like me, and thinking, so to the detriment of British people, sorry if that sounds wrong, we're still laying out the red carpet for everybody, but people in this country are finding the cost of food, the cost of energy, the cost of everything skyrocketing, and a government that is blatantly deaf, tone deaf, to the needs of people in this country. When you say that, people go, well, that's wrong, we should be caring about other people. Well, I'm here to say I think we should be caring about our own right now. Sorry, that's how I see it.
You know, this is a government, Jeremy, that is economically, politically and morally illiterate. It really doesn't know what it's doing in any moral or even economic sense. So it's anti-business, as you say. It doesn't care about the money in the pockets of ordinary Brits. We saw that with its raid off the winter fuel allowance for pensioners and other clampdowns and tax rises that are inevitably going to come. It doesn't know how to balance the books. It inflicts this pain on businesses, which makes everything worse. It says it's going to build new houses and protect our borders, but it's letting in more and more people, and we are spending £4 billion putting them up in hotels. And then that has knock-on effects for tourism, because the hotels are full, and for local cafes and restaurants around those hotels, whose businesses will go through the floor. All of this has knock-on effects that they never even think about considering, because they just look at their books, tick a few boxes and think they've solved the problem, when usually they've actually made it worse.
So I had that, right? I thought there was anger there, and then the bombshell. Today, David Lammy, bloody hell, announces that Britain and Gibraltar have agreed a post-Brexit deal that will hand control of the territory's border to Europe. And a guy rang me and he said, sorry, he said, I'm not far right, I just need to ask this man a question, right? He said, so all the Labour government talks about is Britain's interests. Britain's interests. It's all about Britain's interests. He said, can you explain to me how it's in our interest that now another sovereign territory has been given away, the Spanish can get in there without showing anything, and we have to? And nobody will answer that. Slash, he said to me, the even worse news of the day, we gave away the Chagos Islands and £30 billion. I know you know this. I just have to say it slowly because I can't believe it. Today, the Mauritian government have said, thank you very much indeed. We've managed with your money, Great Britain, to not only pay off our national debt, but we've told all Mauritians they won't be paying any income tax for the next 12 months. How in the name of God, right, are British people who are struggling supposed to respond to that, Brendan O'Neill? It's disgraceful.
Jeremy, I don't know how you stay sane.
No, I don't think I am.
Every day, because this is what we're living through is something actually really extraordinary and profoundly sinister, which is that we have a government that bit by bit is dismantling British sovereignty. It handed over the Chagos Islands and billions of pounds. It now is giving control of Gibraltar to EU officials, the borders, Gibraltar's borders. That's a real step down for British sovereignty. And of course, it's completely lost control of the English Channel, completely lost control of the borders in Kent and around the country generally. This is a government, I've said on your show before, this government doesn't care about British sovereignty. I think I was underestimating it. This is a government devoted to the dismantling of the sovereignty of this nation.
How frightening is that? How frightening is that, though? And people will say, oh, come on, guys, that's rhetoric. But is it? Is it?
Oh, All of those huge acts that they've taken over the past few months, Gibraltar, Chagos Islands, the borders in general, and bringing in more illegal migrants, it speaks to a complete and utter neglect and disregard for sovereign rights of the United Kingdom. The reason that's important is because you can't have a real healthy democracy unless you have a sovereign country. Also, you can't have a safe country unless you have a sovereign country, unless you know who's coming over your borders, whether it's here or in Gibraltar or anywhere else, why they're coming and what they're doing. So this is a government that is constitutionally anti-British. In its very bones, in its very heart, this is a government that doesn't understand Britain's interests and is willing to sell them for cheap on the international market. It's horrendous.
Just very quickly to sum up, people will listen and they go, oh, come on, it can't be that bad. Where do you see this ending, briefly, Brendan?
You know, that's the million-dollar question, but I do think tensions are bubbling up in this country, and it could get pretty nasty. We've already seen it under this government. We've already seen the horrible riots that followed the Southport massacre, when the country just boiled over and exploded and went absolutely insane. Anyone who thinks that those kinds of tensions and conflicts have just been solved and a lid's been put on top of them and therefore it's all over, I'm sorry, you're living in cloud cuckoo land.
And very quickly, because you're a good person to answer this, what would you say to people who would say, yeah, but Jez, what you don't understand is your station, people like that, when you're talking like you are, you're saying to people, oh, come on. I'm not. I'm saying, why have we not got politicians who cannot understand that hard-working, everyday, normal Brits are at the back of the queue and are at the back of they're thinking, I can't, this is not fair or right any longer?
That's what ordinary Brits feel, that their lives, their savings, their communities are being sacrificed at the altar of ideology. They're being sacrificed by this government at the altar of crazy ideas to do with post-sovereignty, post-borders, asylum, etc., etc. People feel that they're just being taken for a ride by the government that is supposed to represent their interests and their lives. And when people feel like that, there comes a certain point when they think, we've had enough and something's got to change.
And I'm just seeing on screen David Lammy's got trainers on. That just finishes it off for me. Brendan O'Neill, chief political writer of Spiked. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. We really appreciate it. 6:25. Kev here at 7. We've got 35 minutes. You want to be on 0344 499 1000. We are live across the UK on Talk. It's the home of free speech and common sense, and you will get that in the bucket load. Back in 3.
Great con is upon us. It started with Rishi Sunak when he began to say, I'm fast-tracking numbers of people through the asylum process. Is they're shifting the concern from national government and the Home Office onto local authorities and council tax and council housing and social housing. And that is disgraceful. It's dishonest, 30 or 40 or even more 50% of people who are not British born, but those coming and gaining indefinite leave to remain, because that's what's happening in many districts and towns across the country.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Sometimes when you do a job that really you feel passionate about, you get really, you go, but I've decided now, I've spoken to my therapist during that break, and I'm going to calm down and feel zen-like for the next few minutes, because, ladies and gentlemen, I am so delighted she's flown all the way from LA. I could pretend she's come to see me, but you haven't, have you?
Well, I'm here to see the king, and technically you are the king in certain circles.
Which circle?
I mean, very good circles, right? You're the king
I've
of
never been
television.
the queen, that's for sure. Welcome, Kinsey Scoffield, host of Kinsey Scoffield Unfiltered. You've got your own... It's honestly never been... I watched it last night. I'm the only person in this building that hasn't been invited on it.
That's not true. We did an episode about your father, and I'm happy to have you back.
Oh, we did, of course.
Yeah, we did a really sweet episode.
Was that after he died or before he died?
It was after he passed.
I wouldn't have let him anywhere near you. He was an absolute old rogue. A good rogue, but a bad rogue. Listen, lovely, lovely. Can I just give you some sad breaking news, by the way? It's showbiz news. Breaking news. Beach Boys legend, the singer Brian Wilson, has died at 82. His family releasing a statement just now saying, we are at a loss for words right now. I'm going to sound really old-fashioned. The Beach Boys, different class in those days. What a fantastic, amazing, brilliant group. Brian Wilson, sadly missed.
California Girls. I mean, I wish they all could be California
USA.
Girls. I mean, they are amazing. Yeah, no, I love the Beach Boys. This is a huge loss, but they were one of the few bands that continued to tour forever. Yeah, I mean, they were timeless.
Kinsey Scoffield, let's talk before we talk about Meghan Markle. I'm really, really interested. You live in LA, right? Yes. We just had somebody on saying that LA, before Trump sent in the National Guard, has become, and I've seen pictures and photographs over the last few months, tent cities, drug problems, crime on the streets. Certainly not what I used to associate with LA when I was, I mean, the first time I went to LA, I was like, oh my God, Beverly Wilshire, oh my God, Pretty Woman. It's amazing. What is going on in LA? We hear, obviously, there was the fires and the problems with the mayor, Karen Bass. She's an emotionless wreck, isn't she? Recently, of course, ICE, which is basically the department that Trump sends. They're getting immigrants and they're deporting them, which is what he said he would do to the American people.
That's how he won an election.
That's why he won the election. But the lefties in California, they've always been very left. They're up in arms and people are on the street. So he thought, sod it, Gavin Newsom's not doing anything. I'm sending in the National Guard, doing what he said he was going to do. Cue uproar from the Lovies, led by Whoopi Goldberg on The View, of course. Yeah. What's it like there? What's the truth?
I mean, it is lawless. If you steal like less than $900 worth of items from a store and walk out, the cops will not come arrest you.
$900? Yeah. We have £200.
Right, right. So if you can walk in and basically steal a handbag and you don't have to worry about the cops showing up because it's just not worth the hassle. I mean, they did defund the police after the George Floyd riots, and now they got more funding, but at the time, and even now, cops don't want to go to work for the LAPD because there is so much back. They're afraid of being accused of horrible things. They're not back to police that they should be able to police because our DA, who was just voted out not too long ago, was so lax on crime that there just was no reason to pursue it. We have a new DA who's great, the one that has been clashing with the Menendez brothers. That's why he's been making headlines, but it is pretty lawless. And
do you, I mean, I'm not asking you to get political, I never would, but do a lot of Americans, do they think that Trump's done it right by sending in the National Guard, or do they think he's overplayed his hand?
I mean, it's 50-50. It's certainly 50-50. It always is. But this is, like you said, this is what he promised to do. I also think this is a great opportunity for him to make Gavin Newsom look inept, because Gavin has always been positioned as the second coming, and they want him to be the Democratic candidate for president one day. And so by showing what a terrible leader he is throughout this process, I think that there is some strategy behind all of this.
I only say because in this country at the moment there is so much criticism of our government, quite rightly so, and there was an article yesterday about how any government will struggle, and the bureaucracy and the levels of government and all the things that Trump talked about, and Elon Musk got involved and all that. And I find myself most days sitting here thinking, I don't agree with half of what the Orange Man baby comes out with, but I'll tell you what I do like. He stood in front of the American people and said, that's what I'm going to do, and if you vote me in, I will bloody well do it, and we could do with that in this country. Julia from Mansfield says, Jezza, Kinsey Scoffield is the most beautiful lady on the planet. Stephen Cambridge says, brilliant show, but cherry on the top is Kinsey in the world.
Oh my gosh.
What is going on?
I should spend more time in this room.
Oh, you can always spend the time in my room, baby. Let's talk about... Where did that come from? Let's do Meghan Markle. No, let's not. You know what I'm trying to
Ryan's
say.
face.
Ryan. You can just see two eyes popping out, lanky. He's tall, isn't he, Ryan?
He is.
Let's talk about Meghan. She loses... This is brilliant. There is one good thing about the riots. Meghan Markle has lost her chance to shine as the LA Natural History Museum cancels a glam gala as riots turn LA into a war zone. Why was she going to the Natural History Museum? Because she's passed and because she's an old fossil. Why was she going there then?
So one of her attorneys is actually on the board that determines who gets this award. She was being awarded for all of her philanthropy. You know, because that's all we ever hear about these days.
I know what my best mate's got a knighthood for philanthropy. I can't even say the word. What has she done really apart create 10 pots of jam?
Exactly. I mean, that's the real question. It's all about who you know in LA, and this is just another example of that. But what was really frustrating to royal watchers was that she was going to accept this award on the same day as Trooping the Color, when we're all glowing in the bask of how beautiful and patriotic this country is. You do it like no one else. The pageantry, we're going to see, you know, all of the uniforms, the choreography. I know, I'm just like sitting in here with goosebumps all over my body, but we just love to see it. We get
That's
to see...
how you excite Kinsey Scoffield. Trooping of the Colour. Honestly, I could buy the most expensive champagne. I could take it to the most romantic place in the world if I was in that position to do so. Not that I would, because I love my wife, but she would be more excited if I showed her a video of Trooping of the Colour.
And so imagine Prince Louis is going to be on the balcony showing out. It's going to be the cutest thing ever.
When is it, the Trooping Colour?
Saturday.
And you've come for that. Are you doing it on television? Are you working?
No, I'm going to be in the crowd yelling my head off. I bought a huge Union Jack thing to wear. I'm just going to...
Sorry, a huge Union Jack thing. What is it? What are you talking about? A hat or
it's a bit of a
onesie?
It's a shawl. It's a bit of a shawl. It's a bit of a shawl. It's Moschino.
You mean shawl?
Okay.
Did you say shawl?
It's a shawl. Shawl.
It's a shawl, baby, as in shoal of fish.
No, that's not. No, but anyway, so I'm going to be just in the crowd because I love to see the royals. But we were frustrated because it felt like she was trying to distract from the King's birthday. This is his official birthday parade, and this is a man that has cancer and continues to show up every day and work relentlessly, and he should be honored.
Can I ask you a question about her? We both, I know each other well enough to know what we think of her. Do you think she deliberately strategizes and plans to do something like that on that exact moment to throw shade at the royal family? Are we giving her too much credit? It can't always be coincidence, because there always seems to be a timing issue, doesn't there?
It can't always be coincidence. And this is, you know, a gala that's going to involve a lot of people. I'm not going to say that this particular event was all orchestrated by her. But last year we were so excited that we were going to see Catherine, the Princess of Wales, for the first time after her cancer battle. And Nacho, Harry's friend, announces that Meghan has sent him dog biscuits. You know, sometimes...
Nacho Figueres,
yes.
I know you.
Sometimes
no comment.
Yeah, sometimes I do feel like it's done intentionally, and the fact that it's been cancelled is a bit of a relief for us that just want the royal family to be able to have their time to shine this weekend.
You make a really good point there as well, as you always do, about the King. You know, we talk about duty, and I think it's really important. You look at her and you think, it's so self-serving and so narcissistic. Everything. I mean, I think the royal family, what's bound them together for so long, and you know I'm a massive fan because of the old man, was actually this selfless sort of, you put your country, you put work first. And let's not forget, he's got cancer. I don't personally, and I'm very careful, I don't think he's that well, and I've said it for quite a while. And his duty and the way he sees that through is absolutely all about who he is. And I salute him. But she's like this annoying little thing that buzzes around the place. What's America's reaction? I haven't spoken to you for ages about this. How do America see the narcissistic princess and the ginger one nowadays?
Well, just look at the analytics. I mean, her show fell out of the top 100 pretty quickly when it came to podcasts. On Netflix, it fell out of the top 10 after the first week. I mean, I think it was maybe in the top 10 for just a few days. Analytically, she's not popular. If you look at the headlines after she released the twerking video, it was titles like cringe, embarrassing. So the reaction is not great. And she just continues to pivot and reinvent herself to the point of it looking relentless and desperate. And there's this anxiety around needing to put herself out there and needing that attention. It's just shameless. Yeah. And I also think it's so unfair to share pictures of the children that the king hasn't been able to get to know.
Well, it's not even that, is it? Let's cut to the chase. You went there, you odious witch. You went there because you wanted privacy. We've done the whole you signed the Spotify deal, but the whole point, the security argument, the privacy argument, the moving to America, was to give her kids the opportunity to never allegedly go through what Harry and William went through. And now, because she's in the toilet in terms of publicity, she stops at nothing to shoot pictures of her kids the whole goddamn time.
And fighting for the HRH title, Harry says, so that his children can grow up and decide whether or not they want to be working royals. You don't have that luxury. That will be King William's decision.
I think
that
will strip him.
To me, that is just so disgusting that you think that how entitled are you that you think that they're going to have the privilege to just decide? In America, we don't have royals. Your daughter is an American. So that really frustrated me that he was going on and on about ensuring that his children have the HRH in case they want to wake up one day and be royals. That's not the way this is. You're born into a life of service. If you're not going to do the hard work, then you need to go and disappear.
I love having you. I can't believe it. She got to go. Can't we just keep her and look at her and talk to her away from all the other stuff? Are you busy? So you're staying till Saturday?
Staying till Tuesday, yeah.
So what are you doing next Monday?
Next Monday, I have Order of the Garter in Windsor.
So you're not here and in London?
I mean, I'm an hour away or less.
So we want you back on the show next Monday, and then I'm going to buy you a drink before you go back to America. It's very important because you've been amazing. You met my son. He's full of it.
We love each other.
Do you?
Yeah.
You could be my daughter. What would you be, daughter-in-law?
I'm old enough to be his mom, but I do love him. He's so cute. He's so sweet. He's a good boy. You should be proud.
Is he? Jeez, 20 to 7, this is Tour Drive.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Tomorrow Tomorrow morning, Mike Graham, Morning Glory, the legend that is MG, back tomorrow morning from 6, Julia from 10 o'clock. This, of course, is the home of free speech and common sense. 18 minutes to 7. Thank you to Kinsey Scoffield. She is absolutely fantastic. We love having her on. Host of Kinsey Scoffield Unfiltered. Give it a watch on YouTube. Now, though, my friends, time to look ahead to tomorrow's edition of the brilliant Sun newspaper. Delighted to be joined now, actually, Ed Southgate in France, a reporter for The Sun. This is an absolute exclusive. Ed, first up, thank you for joining me. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
You look like you're on the secondment, hiding somewhere. Really, really great to have you on. This is an astonishing story tomorrow about a family. This is all about the migrant crisis. It's all about Britain's borders. That's central to all the people that read your newspaper and all the people that listen and watch Talk. Tell us more about this story tomorrow, Ed.
Well, it's essentially just another day in Calais, really. It's the shocking tale of how easily these migrants are getting on the dinghies to make these really dangerous crossings, and how the French police are quite literally standing there letting it happen. So we were in Gravelines, which is just to the east of Calais, at about 5 a.m. this morning, and we saw a large group of migrants getting onto a dinghy, probably I'd say about 80 to 100 of them, really too many for that dinghy. But the shocking thing was there was about 10 police officers in riot, their riot helmets on, they had their riot shields, they're literally just on the coastline watching it happen. And I asked the police, are you not doing anything to stop this? And they just said, oh, it's difficult. And to my mind, it's not that difficult, because there are people in the water there and you're standing here, you could stop them. We pay France quite a lot of money to stop.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I'm allowed to be political, you might or might not be. We're paying £500 million a year, and these people are stood in riot gear, allowing, as you said, and you almost watched a family drown, too many people on these boats, and they're doing absolutely nothing. And it's another example, Ed, and it's really important, the people that email us and text us the whole time, we're just becoming a laughingstock, and we've become, it's just too easy. We don't seem to be in charge or in control of this whole situation, which is getting worse and worse. And when you're there, because the rhetoric's strong and you see these pictures, when you look at these people whose lives are allegedly so bad that they want to get into a dinghy, how many are women and children? I know you mentioned a family. A lot of what's said over here is that it's young men who are taking advantage of how soft we are.
So the family I mentioned in the story tomorrow are the ones who were left behind, actually. They didn't get onto the dinghy. The ones who were on the dinghy were largely men. I think there were some women and children on, but it was overwhelmingly men. And it was the family with 2 kids and a few others who didn't get onto the boat.
And that's the argument, isn't it? I don't know about you. You're a lot younger than me, but I've always said if I was escaping a war-torn country, there's 2 things I'd do. I'd take my wife and kids with me because I'd be frightened that they'd be killed or bombed in my absence. And also, the first non-war country I went to, I'd go, this is fantastic, but it doesn't stop there. They all come to the United Kingdom. And I bet those migrants, to a man and / a woman, right, know that when they get in that boat, however perilous, and yes, we know it's awful, however perilous that journey is, there is a chance at the end of that journey to have an infinitely better life than you get in France in a tent. And that's what's so wrong about the whole thing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And they will be determined just to keep making the journey. The ones who fail today, no doubt they will try and make the journey back to Britain again. It was actually, like you said earlier, you mentioned the family. I think that's the saddest thing about this whole situation. There are families with young kids making these really dangerous journeys. And I did ask the group who didn't get onto the dinghy, oh, are you going to try again? How are you feeling about it? No one answered. But then I asked again, oh, are you going to try again? The only person who actually answered was the child, who I'd say was about 8 years old, who just shouted quite enthusiastically, yes. So even the young children now have in their minds that this dangerous journey is the right thing to do, and we're going to do it. I don't know. It just seems really sad and shocking. Yeah. When
you stood there like this morning, just a very personal question. Don't answer it if you don't want to. Forget being a journalist a moment. As a British taxpayer, do you feel anger? Do you feel sorry for these people? Do you feel angry with the French? Do you feel angry at how particularly I don't know, useless the government seem to be on this, because this problem is not going away and it is getting worse. And this amazing article tomorrow will highlight yet another disgraceful story.
Yeah, I think, you do feel angry and you feel sad and I think most people in the country do feel angry and shocked and sad. Whatever side they think, whatever solution they think, I think everyone can see something is very broken here if record numbers, and it is record numbers now, I think.
38,054 on the migration tracker since Keir Starmer became Prime Minister, a man who said he'd smash the gangs and sort the bleeding problems out.
Exactly. So it's record numbers making what are actually very dangerous and in some cases fatal journeys, but nothing's stopping them. So whatever side of the argument of the solution you fall on, I think everyone can see this is really desperately wrong and something needs to be done. But something's been needed to be done for years, and it clearly hasn't been, because it's only getting worse.
And I think that's half the problem, Ed, and you seeing it, you know, in Gravelines, as you said, in France firsthand, is it's obviously been pushed on the back burner by successive governments. And I'm not massively blaming just Starmer now, although he made promises he's broken, but then I guess he's a politician. This has been going on for a long time, and I think it's a disgrace. And of course, anybody with a brain cell has sympathy with these people, but there are a large number, a massive, I would say a majority of these people are taking advantage of Great Britain. And for me, the only way that stops is if we stop paying the French, we stop relying on other people, but most of all, we stop making the pull factors of coming to the United Kingdom so attractive. Because here's the thing, and the Sun know this, of course they know this, it's all right when you can afford it, but we can't even afford the interest on the debts we owe, and our own people are suffering as more and more and more come across the channel. Just to sum up, Ed, great article, read it tomorrow, Ed Southgate in France for the Sun. Do you see this getting any better any day soon or not?
Not really, no. This is my second time in Calais, and both times you just get a sense of how out of control the whole thing is. And like you said, some people are taking advantage. The first time I came, I spoke to loads of people who had been to several countries before and had decent lives there, but decided to come to Britain anyway. So, like you say, there's a pull factor in our country. The French police aren't doing enough. Our borders are clearly not as close as the government likes to say they are. Yeah, it's tricky, and I don't see it getting better yet.
I really, really appreciate your time. That is Ed Southgate from The Sun reporting from Gravelines in France. Great article tomorrow. He was there at 5 a.m. this morning as a dinghy with nearly 150 people on set off. A family didn't make it. A majority of young men. You heard it from him. And he stood and he watched 10 riot gear armed French police, you know, the ones we're giving 500 million quid to, do absolutely nothing. And they went, it's difficult, and went and had a croissant. Maybe they didn't have a croissant, maybe they had something else, but that was just French of me. But honestly, laughing stock, 10-7.
chances of her having cleared out the asylum hotels and all the houses of multiple occupation that should be occupied by British citizens rather than illegal migrants, I think is 1 in a million, frankly. But look, I wish them well. Obviously, the whole British people would like them to get a grip of the illegal migrant crisis. She talked, I mean, I did have to laugh in the chamber when she said they were getting a grip of borders. They talked about extra hundreds of millions spending on border security command. That basically means hundreds of millions more cash to the French.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, guys. Can I just say to the A-Team back as it should be today. The amazing Jodie is back and has done a great job. Thank you to Ryan, thank you to Amy. And who's pushing the buttons? Sorry, help me out. Neha, absolutely brilliant. So much better than... Where's Mozzie? Well, anyway, they're all brilliant. But Jodie, you got to say, right, I mean, Harry Potter was good, but the Queen is back, right? Let's be honest. She makes you look a lot better and, of course, can achieve the unachievable, which is two grown men, well, two men both 8 foot tall, couldn't make a microphone work right in my ear. But bless them, but a fantastic job. Who's doing Drive tomorrow? Peter Cardwell? PC. Politically correct Peter Cardwell will be here tomorrow. I'll never be politically correct. To the phone lines. We're going to Cheshire. It's posh there, even. Matt, hello.
Hi, good evening, Jeremy. I was just calling about taking illegal migrants out of hotels and putting them onto residential estates in HMOs, which is definitely what Labour will do.
Well, yeah, I did try and ask James Murray earlier. I don't know, it's gone viral, that already. I did ask the Under-Secretary of the Treasury, where it's all well and good to stand up and say, we're going to end the costly asylum seeker hotels by 2029. Not now, then. Where are you going to put them? No comment. Where are you going to put them? No comment. Went on and on and on. Honestly, I nearly lost the will to live. But they don't seem to have a plan. We all know they'll end up in social housing to the detriment of British people, don't we?
They're doing it on purpose to basically try and ruin cohesion in communities. That's been their raison d'etre all along. I got an HMO stopped on my estate a few weeks ago on my own. There was a woman bought a house from out of town, from down south, and she planned to turn it into a 5-bedroom HMO. I went round my estate, I got 100 signatures, and there were 150 people on my houses on my estate. 50 of them weren't in, and I'm sure if they had have been, they would have signed it as well. I gave them all the number of the council switchboard to make complaints and to make an official complaint, and it all got stopped within 4 weeks. So I would ask the British people to rise up. You don't have to put up with this, and if you stick together, even on your own, you can get stuff done. So if you all get together and do things between you in your own communities, you don't have to put up with this.
Very interesting comments. Thank you, Matt in Cheshire. We'll go to Falkirk, beautiful part of Scotland. Anne, you're on Talk Drive. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Only a couple of minutes, my darling. What would you like to say?
It's just my grandson and his wife is going on a big holiday with their child, Jeremy.
Sorry?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. My daughter's kids are having what?
No, my daughter-in-law and my grandson, they're going on a big holiday with their son, who is aged 12, my great-grandson. Now, they've sent away his passport 5 times, Jeremy, and it's been rejected. The last picture that was sent in was done by a professional.
Why has his passport picture been... what? I don't understand.
The third time they said it was... The first time it was blurred, they said. The second time it was blurred. The third time they said it was too big and it came out the passport machine. They got it done with that professional.
I get that. I'm not being rude. What's your point, sweet? That the passport office are rubbish, or we're favouring other people?
Jeremy.
What?
they don't know what to do now for to get the kids' passport to get them on the holiday.
OK. All right, well, I'm not... what you're saying is, alongside that, we seem to make it easier for other people to come to this country, but this kid can't go on holiday and the passport office can't do the job, yes?
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, bless you. Thank you, Anne, so much indeed. In full coat, really appreciate the call. 3 minutes to 7. Can I just say to people, thank you. Thank you for your calls today. I know there are certain people who will go, oh, God, come on, it's going to get better. Is it? I think I might finish by playing James Murray again. Have you got James Murray? I'd just like to leave you with this for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Today the government announced that they're going to end asylum-seeking hotel costs. The first thing that sprung to all of our minds when we came to work was, if you're going to stop them living in hotels only by 2029 to save billions, where are you going to put them? So I thought I'd take the opportunity to say to a member of the Labour government, tell us the truth. Disused military bases? Social housing so that veterans can't get it? Watch this. Listen to this. This is what we're dealing with. This is our government, people. Where are these asylum seekers going to go over the next 4 years? Why is it taking you 4 years? Where are they going to go? Social housing? Are you going to use old military bases? Where are they going to go? And why is your government not appearing in her way today and saying, this is how we're going to stop them coming in the first place, James Murray? We've heard nothing about that.
Well, you're absolutely right that we want to stop them coming in the first place. And one of the things the Chancellor announced as part of the spending review today is more money for the Border Security Command. So that's £280 million extra for border security to stop those boats coming in the first place by helping with all of our efforts on that front. But for the people who are here, for the asylum seekers who are here in hotels, the fact that so much public money is being spent
Where are
on
they
asylum
going to go,
costs,
James Murray? Where are they going to go? Where are they going to go then?
All right, let me...
Hold it there. Kev, I can't.
I'm going to be playing that.
Break him. He just won't answer it. They're going to go in social housing, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, yes, of course they are. Of course they are. This is nonsense. And also, you know, we already know